All right. Welcome, everyone, to our special board meeting of January 23rd, 2024. I'm going to say that we are all here. And we'll go right into our first item, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, announcement of meeting protocols. We will have an opportunity to speak on each of the agenda items. When that time comes up, if you'd like to speak, fill out a speaker card. And I know you've all been here before, so I won't go through all of the things, but just be nice. That's our brief announcement today. We're going to jump right into our agenda. 2.1, Governing Board Vacancy Candidate Interviews and Appointment for a Provisional Board Member. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? I have not seen any cards yet. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move right into our interviews, starting off with our first candidate, Andrea Waldron. You are not Andrea, but welcome anyway. Welcome. Come right on up to the podium. And we will let you begin with an opening statement, and then we'll have some questions, and then you'll have an opportunity for a closing statement as well.
Okay, great. Well, I'm excited for this opportunity, and thank you for letting me come and interview. My name is Andrea Waldron, and I live here, or have lived here in the Roseville area for the past 15 and a half years. I currently have 4 children in the public education system, a sophomore at West Park High School, a 7th grader at Chilton Middle School, and I have 2 children at Junction Elementary School. From the time that my husband and I moved here 15 years ago, we really have loved every minute of it. We have enjoyed the city's parks, trails, all of the different extracurricular programs that are offered to our children, but most of all, I would say we love the schools. I believe the schools are an integral part of making and keeping a community strong and successful. Schools really are the backbone of a good community. That is why I would like to run as a school board member. I want to be a part of a successful, growing community by making sure our schools continue in the right direction so our children will receive the best education possible. Again, initially, a job is what brought my husband and I here to Roseville, but I would say for now, it is the schools that keep us here.
Thank you very much. We now have an opportunity for board member questions. We can take them in any order you'd like. Just signal me if you have a question. All right,
I'll start.
with Marla.
Hi. Can you tell me if you've attended any of our board meetings and what your understanding is of our roles and responsibilities?
I have not attended a board meeting at this one. I have looked at the different minutes, especially with certain situations that'll come up. I'll go back and on the website and be able to look those minutes up. Mainly not being able to attend just because of our 4 children and them coming and going in their different extracurricular activities. But I think as a board member, your role is to be able to work with the superintendent and the administration and be able to also work with the parents and the teachers as well as the students and be able to kind of, we are here to focus on education, but at the same time, there's oftentimes other issues that arise. And I think as those arise, we, as a school board member, you have to kind of accommodate everyone, or not necessarily accommodate, but be able to listen and be able to take in everyone's opinion and before you make any final decisions.
All right. Any questions? We'll kind of.
I'm okay bouncing around
Yeah, we'll go kind of bounce around so everyone gets an opportunity. Any questions?
Sure. Hi. I was just going to ask you, as a parent at West Park High School, if you have anything that you would say kind of stands out to you as a strength or something that you've loved about the school, and then any opportunities where you feel like I would want, if there's anything you would want to be different.
Yes. Okay. So my daughter started high school. She's a sophomore. And I was a little nervous, honestly, for her to go into the high school system. I think you, as a parent, you just hear a lot of different opinions about all the different high schools. I thought, all right, here we go. I've loved our experience at West Park. I've been blown away by the teachers, how eager they are to teach, to help our children. I have loved the administration, and at times there's been little problems, and they're always good to email the parents or be in constant communication with the parents to solve those problems. I've loved all the extracurricular activities. I think I've really liked that the teachers oftentimes will say, if your child is struggling, I am there for them. They can come and see me during lunch. I can meet with them before school. I can meet them after school. So I just feel like the whole focus at West Park really is, we want your child to succeed. We want them to be able to have a good experience here, and education-wise, we want them to be able to receive the best education as they go forward into their future, goals and endeavors. Oh, and I was going to say, one thing I would say that I think, as a parent, that I've noticed is the math program there. My child she actually has done well in the math program. However, my husband is electrical engineer, so if she doesn't understand something, but I do feel like there's a lot of teaching she is having to do at home versus at the school. They do try to provide opportunities for students in this math program to receive extra help if they need it. They're always sending out emails about before school tutoring and after school tutoring.
No.
Hi, thank you for coming. My question is kind of twofold. How would you balance the needs and concerns of different stakeholders, including parents, teachers, and students, and how much time are you willing to commit to the position?
Okay, so I think I'm going to say the last one first. Time, I think, because this is a position that you're running for, whatever time it takes to solve those problems, at times it's going to be, I imagine, a lot more time, whether you're searching for something or researching something. And so I think you have to be willing to put in as much time as you need for that. I think going in, anyone should kind of know the time constraints with that. And then I think collaborating or, talking to be able to work with the parents and students, I think just your biggest thing is going to be respecting everyone's opinions. Everyone has their own way of doing things, their own beliefs, and just because the way I do something doesn't necessarily mean it's right. So being able to come in and say, okay, this is how I do it, but you may do it differently, being able to respect that, and then from there being able to come to a compromise and move forward.
Okay, thank you.
So over the last, couple years, 3 years now, we've dealt with a number of pretty high-profile and controversial topics, from COVID, masking, return to school, parental rights, student rights, library materials, curriculum development and approvals. From your position as a parent, can you share with us if you think that there is something that we could have done differently as we approach those, if you're aware of what we did, or if there's anything you'd like to share with us on any of those topics?
Yes, I'll start with COVID. I actually think the way all the schools handled COVID, I think they did a wonderful job. And you have a lot of different opinions, for sure. You have people think that, coming back to school and having to wear a mask is ridiculous. But there's oftentimes people, I don't think everyone realizes that they have family members or friends that they see often that really would suffer if they got this sickness. So I just think they did a great job. They tried to get the kids back into school and be as accommodating as they could. And at the same time, you also have to follow state regulations as well. And so I thought they did a great job on that. With the other matters, there was a situation I know at Oakmont, was it about a year ago? Anyways, again, I felt that the school board did an excellent job of handling that situation where there was this extracurricular club and there were people being brought in onto campus that teachers and staff were not aware of. I think as soon as they found out about it, you guys were able to, one, listen. I think you did a wonderful job listening to the parents and their concerns, and then making a decision on that and going forward. Those, I think, are really hard topics because, one, you want to respect the children and, again, their privacy and their safety, but then at the same time, you have a lot of parents that are very involved with their children, and you also want to respect them as well, and as well as the teachers too, and not put the teacher be the middleman between the student and the parent.
All right. Marla.
So I've read a little bit about dyslexia, and I've always been surprised at how many people are affected. Do you have, from your own experience, any suggestions for us where we might improve how we are addressing that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, so as my daughter, this has developed and with her, or we discovered this, and she really kind of struggled the time she started kindergarten. Even before kindergarten, there was things that I was really concerned about. And as we moved forward, the one thing I noticed is teachers didn't always know what to do with kids that learn differently. Some teachers were better at it than others, and oftentimes I would talk to the teachers. They were always willing to work with me, but they would often say, we have no training in this. It would be great. And then as I went and got her diagnosis done, not only does she have dyslexia, but she has dysgraphia, auditory processing. And as I went and talked to these teachers, they said, oh, this is amazing. And as I kind of would tell them what the recommendations were from where we would go to get her tested, which we also had to pay out of pocket to get her tested. So I think that's another situation too. Not everyone has that, the means to be able to have their child tested. They said, man, I've never heard this before. I really wish the districts would do training on this so that they can learn kids in that situation can learn, but they learn differently. And so if they can just help them figure out how they learn, then that child can still learn and be a success and go on to college or whatever it is they want to do.
Heidi.
All right. You had listed as one of your 3 priorities to maintain a healthy relationship between teachers, students, and parents. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on that or specific ideas on how that could happen.
Okay, so again, I haven't been on a school board before, so I'm sure everyone here has had way more experience than I do. However, I have served a lot within my church organization, and I've had leadership roles that I have taken on, one of them being running a Sunday school for children who are 18 months to 12 years old. And at one time, we had about 120 kids attending Sunday schools every Sunday. And even though this is totally different from school and you're not having to work so much, maybe with learning disabilities or just learning, there were always situations where parents were unhappy, teachers were unhappy, and I think just keeping the communication doors constantly open in those situations, I would often listen to the parents and their concerns and maybe just the situation that their child was in, and then I would also listen to the teacher. And sometimes we had to accommodate that, and we were able to kind of compromise and come up with solutions, as I think you keep the communication doors open.
You have time for one more very short question and short answer, otherwise we'll move into closing statement. Okay, so you have about just under 2 minutes to provide a closing statement or anything else that you would like us to know.
I just, one, grateful for this opportunity I have to run as a board member, and really I've just really loved the schools here in Roseville, and want to keep them going in the right direction. I believe through my experience as a mom, as a volunteer, an employee, and a leader, I would have the knowledge and skills to help keep our focus on our children and to ensure them a quality education. Through my experiences, I've also gained the ability to work as an effective team member to create an atmosphere of harmony between our teacher, and I think I would be able to create an atmosphere of harmony between our teachers, students, and parents, which I believe is a vital component of a school board member. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I forgot to mention to the board members, you're going to turn these sheets into me afterwards, so if you make notes, make them on something other than your score sheet. Thank you. All right, we are ready for our next candidate. Well, hello there. Welcome. Thank you for coming. If you could just pronounce your last name so we make sure we get it right.
Kochar.
Kochar, okay, thank you. You have the opportunity to make a opening statement.
Okay.
Up to about 3 minutes or so, and then we'll do a round of questions, and then you'll have an opportunity for a closing statement.
Perfect. Okay. So my name's Carrie Kochar. I've been in education for over 20 years as a teacher, as a site administrator, and currently I am a student teaching supervisor for Sac State. So I'm in and out of lots of high schools in the Sacramento area, working with my student teachers. Throughout my tenure in education, I've been a part of several pendulum swings. We all know that it swings in education with changing standards, frameworks, curriculum, instructional needs, and social programs. My experience through those changes has given me a really solid picture of what works, what doesn't work, and then there's always just our standard test of time of what our students need and how do we address student needs on a daily basis. I think that all together, we just need to work together along with insight of what's worked and what hasn't. Anyone who knows me personally knows I'm super passionate, not only about teaching and helping kids, but really in constant program improvement and making sure we do what we need to make students successful. 6 years ago, I made a decision to take a career break in order to help my husband to build his business and to be at home a little more hands-on with my family. This has been an incredible experience. It's given me an opportunity to be more involved in my kids' education as a parent and not just as a teacher. And through that time, I have just felt a calling to serve the community more and more. When we started West Park, I stepped right into football boosters and took on the one role nobody wanted to do, which was starting the concession stand. And it was quite a bear, a lot of fun, a lot of logistics. My husband has a food distributing company, so that seemed to parallel pretty easily for me. But anyways, it was fun, but it was hard. Now I feel like it's time to step into something different. After baseball boosters ended, because my son graduated, now it's time for something else, whatever God has planned. I don't really have any ambitions to become a politician. I don't need to be in charge. I just want to help out and really do what's best for kids. I think I can add a valuable perspective to working faithfully with board members and the superintendent to serve our students to the highest extent. All my experience in education so far has mainly been at a site level. What I'm most excited for or looking forward to as a board member is really just a new perspective of helping and serving students from a board level, working down through the district office, and not so much just the site level, and only working with students. I think there's more of a business side to that, and also balancing the relationships with people to bring out the best in them and to develop better leaders each and every day. So that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Thank you. We're going to rotate who goes first, so we'll start with you this time.
Put me on the spot. I wasn't planning on going
I can go to Heidi first and come back.
Yeah,
Okay,
can you?
We'll go to Heidi
Gather.
first, but you go first next time.
All right, so it sounds like you're involved at West Park High as a parent then. What would you say has been, I don't know, kind of the best strength of the school that you've experienced? And then any opportunities or things that you would, areas of improvement?
Specifically just at West Park?
Sure.
Okay.
That's where your students are, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so specifically to West Park.
So I think West Park overall they've put a lot of thought and energy into rolling it out, hiring great people. And I've had the opportunity of working with a handful of really amazing people, a couple of fantastic administrators and teachers. I think what shines most is, in particular, their heart and their commitment to students and doing things right. And I feel like the people who are most involved into doing things right and to build a program, not that's just going to shine for today, but making sure that you're putting in the safe holds so that it continues year after year after year. So looking at that long distance planning is what I've seen done well. We don't want to just do it for now, right? We want to make sure that those traditions carry on and that these programs will sustain and carry on. And I know when I worked with the baseball programs specifically, that's how we set it up. We wanted to make sure that this was bringing in, the funding that they needed to carry on, that we had parent involvement that would carry on, and got as many people involved as we could everywhere. So for things that I think could use improvement, specifically at West Park, so far they've only been able to roll out so many different types of electives, and it's geared more towards the technology, the bioengineering, or the biomedical, the engineering. And so that's great for the kids who are really mathematically minded and have a gift for, computers and so forth. And then you have performing arts. But those two areas are far different, and some kids don't even fall into those categories. And I know my daughter's one of them. I really appreciate that specifically for my daughter, they have helped to put her into electives that would work for her, like leadership and speech, and those have been fantastic for building leadership skills and public speaking and critical thinking, because I feel like the critical thinking is what's really missing in a lot of our teens. So I appreciate that personal approach. And, that's Kathy Eisenhower is fantastic to work for. I love working with her. She's just a fantastic lady.
Ludmilla.
Thank you for coming. How do you believe that your vision for education aligns with the district's objectives that we have?
Well, I think in this district we have pretty high standards for our students that we want them to excel and achieve. I believe we need to do what it takes to make sure students are successful. There's a few areas that I really think could use improvement, and in terms of ongoing assessments, like in math, to make sure that we're not just making sure that kids are showing those competencies by the end, but what are we doing in order to make sure that they're getting that along the way. I think we could definitely use a little bit more work there. And then also just being super clear in terms of language arts, that we're showing growth and that kids can see the growth, parents can see the growth by specific targeted benchmarks. And that's something that I don't hear people talking about very often anymore, is the data-driven assessments. We're just kind of doing, and good teaching. There's a lot of great teaching, but making sure to maximize instructional effectiveness, utilizing time on task in the classroom. I feel like, at least at West Park, it seems like we're trying to start working on that a little bit more, but that is always something that should be first and foremost in the classroom. It's just making sure, it's all about the teaching strategies, right? Strategies, time on task. Are we ensuring that students are learning? If they're not, what are we doing about it? And that is really the bread and butter of why we're all here every single day, to ensure their success.
Thank you.
Arlo.
share what you think your leadership would look like, as the board will likely have to deal with ongoing challenging problems and polarizing issues in the community?
So I definitely believe in principle-centered leadership, for sure. And I feel that from that principle-centered leadership shows that you value people. I think policies are great. It gives us all parameters. Rules are great. Again, it gives us parameters. But not everyone fits into that. Not every situation fits into that. And that's where we need to have a more personalized approach, not only in the classroom with students, but also with adults and with community members, that we need to listen and hear how people are feeling and either explain to them what the process is in order to help them be successful in the policies and guidelines or the organizational structure that we have, or we need to be able to address those needs separately, whether it's just separately or to create like a new path maybe that we've missed. So I think a more personable approach, that's just kind of my way.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned your work at Sac State and the placement of student teachers, and I know we have a lot of student teachers placed within our school district. Can you share with us your thoughts about conflicts that may arise, given that we as a board vote on personnel issues related to teachers, and if a student teacher were to have a situation that had a personnel issue that would come to our board, how do you see that as a conflict or not as a conflict in impacting you if it's somebody that you have placed into our school district?
So for the most part, Sac State doesn't place in Roseville. They do occasionally, like this semester I know we have, or this year we have 2 student teachers in our district. For the most part they don't, but when they do, I mean, every single day I'm in classrooms, and some of our supervising teachers are amazing, wonderful, experienced, fantastic teachers who mentor our student teachers and do a great job, and some of them are not. Some of them are teachers that I would never hire as a principal, and I would be upset as a parent knowing that my child was in that classroom. It's not up to par of where I think teachers should be. And that's always a delicate balance. You know, there's never a time to criticize or approach right then and there. I think, again, like I try to work with my student teachers directly of, okay, this is what you're seeing here, but this is what we should be doing. And I just kind of gradually give the, supervising teacher permission to kind of let off, and that this is what we need to do. And a lot of times, actually, it ends up being a fantastic experience where the supervising teacher actually improves their teaching skills. So again, it's with a very light touch in approaching that. If there's glaring problems, then I reach out to the principals directly and have a conversation of just what I've seen, but I don't get involved in conflicts with teachers.
Actually, that was my point. As a board member, you do, because we are the final arbiter of conflicts and disputes, whether it's a HR issue that gets appealed up to us or a number of other things. We're the board that acts in a sort of quasi-judicial fashion. So I'm wondering how that would work, or how you would see that work if it involved somebody that you had been placing, or perhaps you're visiting a school as a board member and there's a student teacher that has been placed, how you manage that role of that relationship with them there and your relationship as a board member on your school visits.
Well, I think as a board member, right, if I'm in a classroom where it's my student teacher and I see a problem, I feel obligated, regardless if it's my student teacher or not, right, I feel obligated to talk to the principal, and I'm sure there is a chain of command, right, of even how board members are supposed to address. So I can't imagine that board members are just going around and taking care of HR issues on a spot. That doesn't seem appropriate. It seems like it needs to be, those concerns need to be raised to the appropriate supervisor of that teacher or other staff member, whatever, whoever the issue is with, and that then we can follow up to address it. But I don't think it's the board member's job to take care of the problem directly. It's raising the issue to the direct supervisors and then making sure through the chain of command that it's handled appropriately.
Okay. We have time for one more question if someone would like to get a
I think I'm good.
quick question in. Seeing none, you have just a little bit over 2 minutes to give a closing statement or share with us anything else that you think would help us in making our determination today.
I think really I'm just very thankful that you guys have opened this opportunity. I'm also very thankful of the number of qualified candidates that have stepped forward. It makes me proud to live in a city where we have so many people who are willing to fulfill a need and to serve and give their time. It's incredible to see that. I would be honored to be a part of that and to form relationships and to help see how things work at a different level and to be a part of that process. I think it's a fantastic thing. I don't know if anyone's ever fully prepared for it, but God gives us what we need always. And when we're in a centered place to do good, I know good things can happen.
Wonderful.
All right?
Thank you very
Okay.
much. We
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, you can stay once you've done your interview, yes. We'll take the next candidate. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. You have the opportunity to make a opening statement up to about 3 minutes, and we'll do a round of questions, and then you'll have an opportunity to do a closing statement at the end. So it's now your time. Anything you'd like to share with us for your opening statement?
Great. Hello, valued school board members. I am Renee Hansen, candidate for the Roseville Joint Union High School District School Board Trustee. In the early 1990s, I began my career at the Office of Public School Construction and have continued to consult school districts on facilities and operations and funding opportunities. My household represents both students and adults with disabilities in our community with a focus on graduation and employment success, giving me insight into the development of the new modified diploma program, assistive technology, and special education, which represents approximately 33% of our district. On October 18th, I was very excited to attend the first ever State of the District, which highlighted both accomplishments and goals involving advanced placement, dual enrollment, CTE pathways, facilities modernization, sports and extracurricular programs. With my highly organized nature, strong, decisive decision-making abilities, and advanced communication skills, I am prepared to take on the challenges and opportunities of this role. My experience in managing complex projects and maintaining confidentiality will be instrumental in effectively serving the board. Please consider my background and experience for this appointment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ludmilla.
Hi, thank you for coming. I would like to ask you, what steps would you take to ensure that all students have equal access to quality education?
Ensuring equal access to quality education first starts with our curriculum and also the training of our educators. We have curriculum that uses assistive technology and has a lot of opportunity to individualize how each teacher wants to present the information. And along with that, we need to make sure that when it's presented, that it has uniformity between the different classes in our district so that everyone's being taught similar information at a similar speed and has to have assistive technology that works with it. Our district currently offers assistive technology for readers with Google Read and Write, and Kami are primarily used. And sometimes we put curriculum on our technology that doesn't allow access to that, and it doesn't work. So if you have an IEP contract that states that this technology is going to be available for your disabled student, you need to make sure that the curriculum that's offered is compatible with the software so that their readers can work. And also, the curriculum needs to be modified ahead of time. Right now, we have a brand new modified diploma program, which is really exciting. CDE passed it in June of 2022, and our district started implementing it in May of 2023, and it's still being developed because we're not doing it exactly like CDE requires it, which involves some statewide assessments and different things. And I love being a part of that. And my child, who's on an IUP at Wood Creek, has been really instrumental in pioneering exactly what she's experiencing for herself and her friends. And I think those are some great places to start. I think technology is going to continue to make our curriculum be challenging to keep it uniform and give each student the same access.
Thank you.
I'm going to go next because I have a question related to your current work, and I might have a follow-up question. The work you do with Hansen Global Industries, can you explain a little bit more what their clients are like? And the reason I'm asking is any conflicts that we may have to deal with in relation to that.
Certainly. I do not foresee any conflicts because our primary contracts are with architects and project management companies that specialize in school districts. I started with the Office of Public School Construction in the 1990s, and that covers the facilities and operations and the funding opportunities through the school facilities program. I'm actually familiar with the school consultants that Roseville works with. We're a real tight-knit group. There's about 30 of us throughout the state who've been doing this for about 30 years, and that is where the focus would be.
The reason I ask is Government Code 1090 has a unique provision, and that is if you or your employer or your spouse's employer have a contractual relationship with an organization, whether it be anything but a nonprofit organization, then if you have a board position or you're a designated filer, which we all are, in a government position, then your organization, in that case our district, is prohibited in participating in or entering into any contracts with any of those people in the future. So I'm wondering how that would impact us given the number of relationships with people who do school facilities and improvements.
It would have to be managed for any future contracts. My current contracts do not include architects or project management companies that work with this district at this time.
When you say your contracts, are you talking about the company or you individually?
The company, and we're doing business as facilities and operations advisors.
Okay. Okay. I think, oh wait, you're next, sorry.
Can you share if you've ever attended any of our board meetings and what your understanding is of our board's role and responsibilities are?
Certainly. I have watched them online, and I'll be honest, most of the time you watch for the things that you're interested in, not necessarily from start to finish. However, the understanding I have is that you are to take on the role of supporting the district for all aspects of education and safety, health and welfare, appointing personnel in certain aspects, and listening to families and community members' concerns and coming up with viable, measurable solutions.
I got messed up in my order when I jumped in. I think you're next, right? Have you asked a question yet? No. Okay, it's all up to you, sorry. I should have just kept in order and saved my question. I apologize.
No worries. Okay, no problem. All right, thank you for coming. So you're a parent at Wood Creek, correct?
Correct. My fifth child and third at Wood Creek is graduating in 2025.
Okay, congratulations. So throughout your time in our district, either specific to Wood Creek High or in general is okay. I just wanted to find out what you would call the strengths, your most favorite thing about Wood Creek High, what you feel like is kind of the spotlight, and then any areas of opportunity or things that you feel like could be or could have been better or different.
Certainly. I'm going to be specific to Wood Creek since that is where my experience is from. Absolutely strives for excellence in academics. And my two that have graduated, when they take any standardized test, whether it be for government type positions or job positions, they always test very well, even though they had learning disabilities. So I'm very confident that that is because of the high educational standards. And also, as a parent, when I chose to move here, I saw that that's been pretty consistent, that we are always ranked nationally. I think we were ranked somewhere in the 500s of U.S. News, I believe it was, and that is a consistent pattern. I also, at Wood Creek, we have amazing sports programs. I hardly go to a game that we don't win, so I feel bad about that for the other team, but they really excel, a lot of camaraderie, lots of extracurricular programs, AP courses, CTE courses, and great friendships. Our student body is really kind and inclusive, and the staff are always striving to improve. And I will also say, as far as our SPED program and SED program, I do feel that it needs to catch up to the rest of the programs that are offered. And I have some excellent ideas from being involved in that for so many years, especially with this brand new modified diploma program. I'd love to see an academic plan with educational curriculum for the SED students. And my involvement since my youngest daughter started high school has been pioneering that and advocating with her. And even little things like getting handicap seating in the student section. And whenever we see a need, we try to fill the need. And in the last 2.5 years, we've made a lot of progress in that area.
Very good. We'll start at your end for second round.
If you've watched any of our board meetings, you've seen some controversial topics come up over the last few years. How can you share what your leadership would look like if you were on the board, how you'd maneuver around some of those polarizing issues?
I'm very left brain, and I like to think of issue processing and having basically a standard format to address and to not get emotional about that, although they can be really emotional topics. First, I like to clarify issues. Sometimes people are talking about the actual issue. Sometimes they're talking about the symptom of an issue. So first, there would be clarification of exactly what the issue is. And then there would be brainstorming to identify measurable steps to get to a desired outcome. And part of that includes seeing the cost parameters, the effects on students, the effects on staff, and how much time it would involve. And then coming back after it's been considered with measurable outcomes that have goals and timelines. And I have a big heart for some of our most disabled students. And most of those issues are around inclusion. And so I really strive for diversity, and inclusion and equality are super important. And so we have, and everything kind of falls under respect and responsibility. So I would show respect, and I would take responsibility to find a solution.
Thank you. we've come up on our final 2 minutes here, so this is your
Is
opportunity
it my turn again?
to provide a closing statement of up to 1 minute and 53 seconds, no, 2 minutes. Anything you'd like to share with us?
So in conclusion, my professional background coupled with my personal investment in our community and the education of all students, particularly those with disabilities, aligns perfectly with the objectives of the district. I am eager to contribute my expertise and passion to ensure that every student in our district, regardless of their abilities, has access to high-quality education and the opportunity to achieve their fullest potential. Thank you for considering me for this vital role.
Thank you very much. We can go right to the next person. Right on schedule, within 30 seconds. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. We'll give you the opportunity to make an opening statement.
Great.
And then we'll take turns asking you a few questions, and then you'll have an opportunity to wrap it up with about a 2-minute closing statement. So
Okay.
the floor is yours.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy to be here today. My name is Garrett Zipp. I've been a member of the Roseville community for pretty much my entire life. I was born in Roseville. My family is all here in Roseville. I have 2 kids in the school district. One is currently a freshman, one is an 8th grader, so we'll be in here very shortly. And then I also have 6 nieces and nephews going through the school district, so quite a few connections here with kids going through the district. I will have representation from my family in the West Park School until, well, for another decade. So have a lot of vested interest in making sure that we have appropriate representation from the community. So like I mentioned, both my brother and my sister live in West Park. I've actively been engaged in the community through scouting for the last 8 years. So I'm an assistant scoutmaster with one of the local Roseville troops. There's approximately 80 kids, so I interact with both the kids, the family members, the parents on a weekly basis. Because of that, I feel I have a unique perspective in getting to engage with a lot of families with different perspectives on what's going on in the community and how they want to make sure that they're represented. My education, I have a bachelor's in political science from UC Davis. So I had to leave Roseville for that, but I did come back. I also have an MBA. Professionally, I've been in corporate America for the last 20 years, spent the majority of the time at AT&T through various leadership and management roles. Started there when I was an undergrad at UC Davis at the ground floor, worked my way up through various leadership and management roles. I left AT&T last year, and I'm now with Cisco. So Cisco, the technology company, not Cisco, the peanut butter company, just to clarify. And I specifically work with higher education. So the UC system specifically dealing with technology for the higher education system.
Thank you. I get to go first on the questions
Okay.
today. I appreciate your work on the FirstNet. I was part of the Silicon Valley Regional Interoperability Authority that brought that to the Bay Area
Okay.
back in the day.
Yeah.
My question is, with your role at Cisco,
Yep.
being in the public sector division,
Correct.
one of the issues in being in a government agency is this pesky little government code called 1090, which governs contractual relations.
Correct.
And so, wondering if you've given any thought to how that might impact your work. And let me just summarize the real basics of the law. That
Yeah.
is, if you or your employer or your spouse's employer have a contract with a government agency.
Yes.
Or any related, maybe sub-suppliers or something like that, it prohibits this organization from entering into any of those contracts. So my question would be, do you think that there is any possibility of those type of fiscal conflict of interest? And if so, have you thought about how you might deal with them as we move forward?
Yes. So one, I checked with my leadership at my employer first before even applying to make sure I was notifying my employer if there would be a potential conflict of interest. And if there is a matter where the board is voting on a product in which my company participates, then I can recuse myself from voting on that specific matter.
Actually, the law is slightly different. The law would prohibit us from entering into any contractual relationship or any business relationship moving forward if your company is on the, so the conflict at the employer is a little bit different than the conflict in the government agency.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering, I don't know anything about your technology other
Sure.
than it was the biggest employer when I was on San Jose City Council. I know Cisco. But are there potentials where you think that our district would be using Cisco products in a large contract type basis?
It's not my understanding that you currently use Cisco today.
Okay.
So just to answer that question, it's my understanding you're with a competitor. So that
Okay.
should keep it okay.
Okay. Just want to explore that because it gets,
Understood. Yep.
the penalty for violating is immediate removal from office. So it's kind of one of those serious ones.
Absolutely.
But
Yep.
Thank you for having thought about it and talked to your
I
employer.
have thought about it, and I wanted to make sure that there wasn't an issue both with the board and with my employer. So yes, thank you.
Great. Marla.
Can you share if you've been to any of our board meetings and what your understanding of our role and responsibilities are?
I've not been live to a meeting, but I have watched virtually. I have watched some of the recordings. My understanding is the board members sit in front, as you are today, and engage with the public, engage with parents, discuss with the administration, and talk through some of the concerns and viewpoints and perspectives from the parents, and make sure that the decisions that are being rendered are consistent with the viewpoints of what the community is seeking.
Very good. Good.
I'll wait for my next round.
All right, Ludmilla.
Hi, thank you for coming. I'd like to know, how do you believe your vision for education aligns with the goals and objectives of our district?
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the tagline that is on your, I think it was on the website. I think I've seen it in some of the recordings: ignite, inspire, and prepare. I think that's something that I definitely am behind. There it is. Thank you. Ignite that passion in our students for learning and education. Inspire them to be better, inspire our students to learn, and then prepare them for life, whether that's going to a 4-year degree, whether that's a trade school. So I am behind the motto of the board, behind the motto of the district, and I feel I can help contribute to that with my feedback and my participation in these types of forums.
Great. Heidi.
All right, hi there. On your 3 priorities that you had listed, you had mentioned student safety being one of them, and then again, school safety down towards the bottom on the challenges. And I saw you've taken some emergency management
Sure.
classes, like safety conscious. I
Yeah,
like it.
very.
So,
Well, as Pete mentioned, I came from a division at AT&T known as FirstNet, which is mission critical communications for first responders, but also education. So I've done a lot of work with schools throughout the state on their ability to communicate during disasters, both phone communications, internet communications, and then also teacher panic buttons, signage boards. That's all very important. That's something that is important to me as a parent, our community members, making sure that our staff and our students are safe. So that's kind of my perspective coming from my background, is to ensure that technology continues to make it into the schools and that it's a helping tool to the administration and the teachers, not a hindrance. So it needs to be something that works and works well.
All right.
So one of your other top priorities was student education.
Yeah.
So as a parent, what do you think we're doing well in that area?
Yeah.
And where could we improve? And so how did that become one of your top priorities?
Sure. Obviously, this is a school district, and education is top of mind for any parents that are sending their children to school. My daughter is in IM3 as a freshman, so she's taking advanced, math. I appreciate from the district that is an opportunity for her. I think there are other schools and districts out there where kids that want to take accelerated learning might not have those opportunities. So as a parent, thank you. I think that's a great opportunity for our children that would like to learn faster some of these more advanced classes. What you could do better. As I said, my daughter's a freshman. I haven't really seen any things on which I can give feedback on where to improve at this point, but I promise you as a board member, that's something that I will continue to look at closely and provide feedback and help identify those opportunities.
So over the last 3 years, we've dealt with some pretty controversial and often politically charged issues, the return to school from COVID, masking, vaxxing, parental rights, student rights, library materials,
Yeah.
Curriculum, all of these things. As a parent, and your observations of what we've done either as a community member or as a parent of a student who's sort of lived this experience
Yeah.
going through with us. One, what do you think of how the issues were handled, and do you have any particular comments on any of those subject areas that
Yeah.
I shared?
One, I don't think the issues are always black and white, and there are definitely very strong viewpoints on all sides of these sorts of issues. For me, I had children that wanted to be back in class. They wanted to be in front of their teacher. They wanted to be in front of their peers. They wanted to be able to go to school. So I appreciated for the middle school and the elementary school at the time how they handled that, of being able to come up with a solution that worked for most to get the students back in class so that they could continue learning and they could have a positive classroom-like experience. Was it ideal in all aspects? Of course it wasn't. It was a very difficult time, but I think it worked out well, and all in all, as a parent, my kids were happy with their learning experience, which to me makes me happy as a parent.
We have time for probably one more, maybe two questions, depending how short they are. Either Heidi or Ludmilla.
I would like to ask how much time you're willing to commit to the responsibilities of being a board member.
Yeah. Well, I would throw that question back to you and find out what are the successful board members spending in terms of time. I've already talked to my manager and asked that I would be able to be given time as needed throughout the week if I need to leave work to come to things during the day. Evenings, obviously, I'm already available. There will be some conflicts with scouts. As a scout master, I do attend scout meetings and do merit badge counseling on some evenings, but I'm sure I can work the scheduling out that way. But I'm willing to put in whatever time commitment is needed to ensure that I feel when I'm showing up, I'm properly representing my community. I'm properly representing the viewpoints of parents that are either speaking to me outside of this sort of venue or the community members sitting behind me.
Great. Does anyone have a short question that is short in asking and short in answering? Otherwise, we're going to move into closing statement. Okay, so we'll give you 2 minutes to make a
Great.
closing statement.
Okay. Well, one, just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I've had a chance to chat with a lot of the other potential candidates outside, and I'll say there's a lot of great people out there. So you have a very tough decision ahead of you. I just want to drive home the point that I was born and raised in this community. I have family members throughout this community that will have students in this district for the next decade. My mom was a teacher in this community. So I have a lot of respect for the administration. I have a lot of respect for the board members. As a volunteer in the scouting, I know that volunteers don't often hear thank you enough, so I will say thank you. This is something that you have taken on that sometimes might be a little more than you've bargained for. And I understand what I am potentially signing up for here. I understand that this is a commitment, and someone who has been in this community for a long time, I don't plan on leaving it anytime soon. So if I'm elected, selected, whatever term we're supposed to be using, I'm going to be in this community for years to come. And I am invested in making sure that our faculty, our teachers, and our students are given the tools and resources that they need to be successful.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are going to take a 1.5-minute break. Sorry for the short break, but
That's okay.
we're good going. Yeah. We're 1 minute behind schedule, so we're going to go ahead and get going. I'm sure John is going to walk in any moment. So thank you for joining us. As I'm sure you've heard, the process is you'll have about 3 minutes to provide an opening statement. Then we'll take some turns and ask you a few questions, and we'll reserve about 2 minutes at the end for you to make a closing statement. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to you to start with your
Okay.
opening statement.
Okay, well, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Tiffany Coleman, and it's a pleasure to be here before you again to introduce myself and to have an opportunity to visit with you and have you ask me some questions. So my husband and I have lived in Roseville for 25 years. We have 5 children, and our 4 boys have all graduated from Wood Creek High School, and they are off into their lives now. Some are professionals and some are still at school. And right now we have a daughter who is in 7th grade at Cooley Middle School, and she will be coming up into Wood Creek High School in the next couple of years. We have owned Coleman Engineering. We started that in 2010, and it is a civil engineering business that specializes in water and wastewater, and our business is based here in Roseville. I have really enjoyed being involved with the public schools for a number of years now, starting out with art docent in my children's classrooms for forever. And then I had the opportunity to move on to head art docent and then work with the Roseville City School District in revamping their art program. And I have headed up community engagement, looking over curriculum in our area. And I helped form the group Informed Parents of Roseville City School District. So I've spoken at the state level, and I have spoken to Roseville City School District Board and to this board several times about issues that are important to me in our community. I believe that the health of our schools is fundamental to the health of our community and strength, and I believe that personally contributing to our community is an essential part of our democracy. So as a trustee, I would aim to support families as the foundation of a student's life and the most important component of our community. I would promote core education, and I would have a goal to help prepare students for successful adulthood through excellent education and reasonable, high-aiming expectations. I have a positive personality, I am intelligent, I am respectful of others, and I genuinely care about our schools and our community. When I became aware that a trustee position was vacant, I felt that this would be a good time for me to step in and contribute my time and my experience and my skills to help build our community. So that is why I am here this evening, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thanks, Marla. It's back up to you for number 1.
You've highlighted a deep level of engagement with our community on a number of issues. Can you share what your leadership would look like if you were a trustee as we approach one of the many challenging issues that we will likely face in the future?
What my leadership would look like?
What your leadership would look like.
I feel that, first of all, leadership is listening to others and hearing a variety of viewpoints. I have my viewpoint and I have my understanding of an issue. I think that there are a lot of good viewpoints on different issues and worthwhile to listen to. So I think listening would be the first option, the first step of engagement for me. And I am very respectful when I talk with people and listen to them. I'm very interested in what they have to say and their viewpoint. And being organized, working together as a unit, and listening to the community and gathering the correct information so that good decisions could be made.
Hello, thank you for coming. I'd like to ask what steps you would take to ensure that all students have equal access to quality education.
That is a great question, and I think that is a really interesting question. In Roseville, we have generally been a very affluent community, I feel like, and I think that there are parts of our population that need some attention and need to be addressed and made sure that they don't fall through the cracks. So that is a really great question, and I guess start by being aware and, again, talking to members of the community that feel that they need some extra attention or need more attention than they're getting, listen to what they have to say, and work with our district staff to address that.
Heidi.
All right. So you've had a lot of time at Wood Creek as a parent there. What would you say is kind of a highlight or a strength of the school? And then if there were anything that you would consider an opportunity, something that could be better?
At Wood Creek specific? Mm-hmm. So yes, we've had a lot of time at Wood Creek. It has been a fantastic school for our children. We have had some excellent teachers there that have really given them a foundation for what they have moved forward into in their lives. I feel that we've had very good communication with the staff there and the teachers and built some good relationships. All 4 of my boys did water polo, and so we got to know the water polo community quite well over there and spent a lot of time at the pool. I think that it's been just a really stellar school. We've really enjoyed, I'll tell you something that's great about Wood Creek is their theater department. They have put on some amazing productions, and it's been fun to go and be part of a community and see those productions and see the kids working together. As far as what improvements could be made, I actually spoke to the board probably a year and a half ago or so. I was concerned about the dress code there. I felt like it had really lagged, and I felt like it could be much improved to raise the students' view of their own education and see it as a more important light than I felt like the dress code was implying by the lack of, like, lift yourself up and stand up and be serious about school. So that would be one area I'd improve.
I just have maybe a brief question about Coleman Engineering. Do you do any contract work with schools or school districts or anything that?
We have not.
Okay. I just asked because I have to explore conflict issues and how they would impact us, but if that's not something you're currently doing,
No.
that's fine. So I'll go on to my other question, which of course I drew a blank on right as I said that. Share with us your thoughts on our recent policy related to student right, parents' rights, and sort of balancing those rights. A critique, if you'd like, or how you observed what we did, how we did it, and any comments you might have on it.
Okay. That I felt was an important issue throughout our entire state. Many school districts were addressing that issue, and I feel that Roseville Joint chose to address that issue as it was important in many parts of the state and something that needed to be addressed. I actually did speak to the board about that issue, expressing my ideas and opinion, as I shared in the beginning, that families are the core foundation of our communities, and I think every decision should be made with the family in mind, first of all, if it strengthens our families, because when we strengthen our family, we strengthen the community. As I read through the policy and the decision that was made, it becomes interesting because in a way you feel like these things are common sense or just known in general terms, but then you have to define them. I as I understood it, the policy ended up that if a student goes to the wellness center or to see a counselor, that's when their parent would be notified that they had missed class time for that, and that would be a heads up for the parent that there was an issue that their child needed some support in and some guidance in. So I feel that I was really appreciative that the board addressed this issue. I think it is important. I think there will probably be more issues similar that come up in the future. I didn't see the very, very specifics of if a student says, I want my name to be changed, or if I want my gender to be changed, or if I want to go to a different bathroom. I didn't see that in there, and I may have missed that. I may have not seen that in there, but I believe the general guidance was given to administration and to staff that families will be intimately involved in their students' lives, particularly at a time when a student needs more support than any other time in their lives.
Thank you. Marla, back to you.
That's fine. How do you think we can mend what you referred to as a growing distrust between parents and schools?
So I believe, first of all, communication and being very, very clear in communication. I appreciate, obviously, the board meetings are open, so that keeps things very transparent. Communication from the schools. Addressing, I actually think that your choice to address the parental notification helped build that trust, because it seemed that, hey, we are going to address this. We're not going to just pretend that it's being taken care of somewhere, but we are going to address it straight on, so that parents have that feeling of that it's been addressed, that they don't have to worry about it. So I think that communication is a big part of that, really, really clear communication. And time together, actually. I think the more we do together as a community, as schools, as a district, the more we get to know each other and see the best in each other and feel trust. We feel like each other is trustworthy.
Ludmilla, do you have another question?
Just have a brief question. Can you share how your board position on your HOA board, how your skills there and your experience there would translate or help you on this type of board?
Yes, so that has been a fun board to be a part of, and it's always fun to get together with a group of people who maybe there's not a lot else that would bring you together, except for we live in the same community. So that's what brings us together, and then you get to know each other and pull from each other's skills and their personalities. So I think, for one, just learning how to read people, learning how to discern what their talents are and pull that out, and listening to people and being respectful of what they have to offer. And again, they may have seen something in our neighborhood that I didn't see, or I didn't think was a problem, or I thought was going well, and to get their viewpoint on that. So I think that would translate here.
So I think I have time for one more question, if it's not too long of an answer. I noticed your work in art, with Art is Everywhere and being an art docent, et cetera. How do you feel we're doing as a district in the area of art?
You know, I don't really know for the high school district. I did that work for Roseville City School District, and it was a ton of fun to do. We had worked with just the art docent program in general, and a few of us that had noticed that there needed to be some changes, that it became a little dated, worked with the district office and had such a good time working on with a larger committee, working on improving the new Art is Everywhere program. So I hope that is translating into better art in Roseville Joint, but I really cannot speak to that. My boys did not do anything with art in Wood Creek. I'm sorry. I do not know.
Thank you. I ask because many people may not know, but I'm an artist. I know it probably shocks a few people, but seriously, award-winning even. But we now have time for your closing statement.
Well, I just thank you again for inviting us in. I was really excited that there was so many people who applied. It speaks to the desire our community has to be involved with the schools, to help keep our community a strong, happy place. So many people are moving here, enjoying raising their families here. We certainly have. And I've really enjoyed sitting out there and getting to know all the different applicants. There's some really excellent applicants. And it just, again, that is what I see whenever I get out in the community and work, is just so many good people. But I have motivation to serve well with my daughter. I have loyalty to Roseville. We've been here for such a long time. I have experience working with the schools, and I feel like it's important to contribute. So if you feel that I'm a good fit, I would look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and then you can bring in our next applicant. You're 60% done. Maybe a little more. Hello. Hello, welcome. You can join us right there at the podium. The way this is going to work is we'll give you up to about 3 minutes to provide an opening statement. Then we as board members will take turns asking you a few questions, and then we'll reserve about 2 minutes at the end, hopefully, for you to make a closing statement. So
Okay.
with that, James, it's all yours to share your opening statement with us.
Thank you. And it's an honor to be here. First of all, I feel like this is a version of This Is Your Life, and I'm just trying to think of all the stuff, what I've done. But anyway, name is James Jenkins. I've originally from Detroit. Tell a little bit about myself. From Detroit, Michigan. Moved out to California way back in 1988, just in time for the first earthquake that I've ever been in. And my wife and I have been married for 27 years. Coming up next month, moved up here about 11 years ago next month. And we love the Roseville area. One of the reasons we moved up here is because of the schools, the community from the Bay Area, moving on from the Bay Area. We love it. Being from Detroit, I love looking out in the mountains in my window upstairs and seeing the snow in the mountains and not having to wake up to it every day and sludge around in it for 5 months out of the year. So that part I love, and we just love the community, our neighbors. It's a great community. We have 2 daughters, 23 and 26. Both graduated from Oakmont next door, and we came way over from West Park, which is where we live. And my wife is behind me somewhere. She's always behind me, so which is good, or in front of me, whichever. But anyway, so things I've done as far as services I've done, I've served on boards of 2 previous churches I've been involved in. What else have I done? I've been in sales for, like I said, 40 years. I've done that through, I'll call it self-development. Didn't know what I wanted to do before I got into sales. Got into sales and realized this was my calling, and worked my way up, became a leader of men and women in the different organizations that I've sold for. Been a sales manager, been an area manager, and one of the reasons I love people, I've had people that I've hired over the years who've ended up even sometimes having to let them go, and we're still friends today. So they know I'm fair. I listen to people. I love, I think that's the core principle of anything you do, and especially in sales, because you got to love people. If you don't love people, you shouldn't be doing it. I'm known for getting in conversations all over Roseville here, and even people I don't agree with. A lot of times I get waiting in line at Costco or wherever and just start talking. And my wife goes, you always end up talking to somebody about something. That's just the way I am. I come out the gym, I go, everybody's yelling at me, hey, James, how you doing, James? So that's just who I am. Why I want to do this is because I would like to be a part of How am I doing on time, by the way?
About 15 seconds.
I want to do this because I want to be a part of preserving what we have here in Roseville. I think it's great. Good education, great schools, which is one of the reasons we moved here. We'll keep our property values high. We'll keep our communities clean and bright. And so that's one of the reasons I want to step up and get involved and use my leadership skills and other things I've done to further this. So.
Wonderful. Goodwill, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Hi, James. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Lamilla.
I do have a question. What steps would you take to ensure that all students have equal access to quality education?
So first of all, I'm not going to know all the answers yet. I just want to be very frank with you. So this is going to be a little bit of learning experience for me. So, but I'd say number one is to focus on education and focus on the core principles of what we're supposed to do here as a board, which is to make sure that we have well-paid teachers, make sure we're providing them a first-rate education and keeping our educational standards high here in Roseville, in the high school. So, and that's the focus as far as student development, as far as I see.
Thank you.
By the way, one of the things I did mention, by the way, my wife is a substitute teacher for not for the high schools, but the middle schools. So just FYI. Okay, so.
Heidi.
All right. Hi there.
Hi, Heidi.
As a Oakmont parent, what would you say, looking back, at your experience there, was a highlight, or a strength of Oakmont High? Ooh. And then if there was any opportunity or area of improvement? Yeah.
Ooh, well, you made the biggest improvement, which was to build West Park, because I live right there. So we had to drive all over. We had to come. It's a hard drive over here. And matter of fact, in 2016, on my way back home from work, one day we got rear-ended on 80, and totaled my car and tore my rotator cuff picking her up from school. So I think safety and having that school over there is been a big factor. But so my emotional part goes to that piece as far as the frustration of being a school so far away was probably not good. But as far as the school, I would say she's in her senior year of college right now. The music program was great. She developed that, and she's studying music therapy. So she'll graduate in May, and we'll be glad when that's over. Because we're paying for it.
Aren't we all? Oh.
Yes. So, no, but she's doing very well, though.
James, can you share with us what perspectives you might bring to this board that we've been lacking or that we don't have? So
I don't know that I can do that from my position yet. And just so you know, I would say some of the things I probably would bring, I'm a solution-oriented person. I like bringing things down to the simplest factors. And I don't know how many of you were there, but I actually spoke at the board meeting when the landing point situation took place, and everybody was kind of going back and forth and talking about how, if you didn't agree with one side, you hated these kids and all these other things who were, which they were trying to, I guess, have a drag queen show for to raise funds. And so I stepped up and said, hey, look, why don't we stop bickering over how much we love these kids? Let's agree that we all love these children, and let's figure out an equitable way to raise funds if that's what you want to do. I think we can do better than having a drag queen show. And so that was my statement to the board, and pretty much everybody clapped. I says, I'll join in if you want to form a committee to raise funds. Let's find out what we agree on, and let's stop bickering over the other things. So during my sales career, by the way, I'm a baseball player, so I'm working on teams, so I'm looking at things even in my sales and in my team sport that I play, which is competitive baseball. But you're working as a team, and I understand working on this board, it is a working as a team, and that nobody's going to be a superstar from what I'm gathering, and you're going to come in and have to figure out things and negotiate with each other sometimes, and you have to give and take, just like in a marriage or anything else. So that's kind of what I see I bring as my experience in doing those things. So
thank you. Marla, did I skip you inadvertently? I'm sorry. Okay, your turn.
Hi, Marla.
Thank you. So how do you see yourself engaging with the community to understand what the needs of our students, families, and teachers are, seeing as your kids are out of the district now?
Yes. So I think the first step is asking questions and listening and hearing what they have to say and hearing what their problems are, their challenges are, and having an ear to listen. And that just comes from my my sales experience, because you can't fix a problem unless you know what it is and find out what it is. So the first thing I would say is inquisition, finding out, hey, and being vulnerable and say, hey, just like you asked Pete, hey, how are we doing? I would say just listening and having an ear. And like I said, I'm very good at just talking to people and listening to them and finding out, hey, what's your most important issue and things like that. I just ask questions a lot, and through that, you listen. So I think some of the biggest problems, we don't listen to each other enough sometimes.
Ludmilla, do you have a second question? I have one. Do you have another? James, I noticed in your application, I can't remember what spot, but you
Yes,
talk
sir.
about some work that you do in Antelope through your church.
That's a good.
Can you talk about your connection?
Yeah,
to the
so
Antelope community?
my church is in Antelope that we go to. It's called The Point. It's right on Watt Avenue. And I understand that's the district that's open right now. So obviously we have families, community. I served as an elder in that church several years ago. We left for a couple years and we just came back last year. And so we're there every Sunday. I'm a person who's a Christian, so we're there every Sunday, my wife and I. And I also I teach a class on apologetics, which is more like critical thinking for the Christian faith. So teaching people how to think critically on a lot of the issues that come up against it and things like that. So, which involves a lot of question asking and listening. So I'm involved in, we've been going there. Like I said, a lot of our friends and family members and parishioners live right there in Antelope that I serve with. Thank you for.
Any other questions for James? We have time for one, if it's not too long and in depth.
I think I'm okay.
You okay?
I'll go with a quick one since we have time.
Yes, Heidi.
You listed, you mentioned as one of your priorities, safety.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see if you had any specific ideas around that or wanted to elaborate or what you meant by safety.
For instance, yes, it's a good question, by the way. For instance, me traveling across town was not safe, obviously, is because, that's a long way away to be. So that increases the odds that there's going to be an accident in between now and then, I would say. And living right at the entrance of the school we have, the West Park right now, we have some concerns because people come down that street. Bob Dole Drive is where my house backs up to, and we've got a stop sign coming in. But sometimes we hear cars coming out on the street, and they're coming way too fast for a school district. I almost want to go out there and throw a sign up myself and put a stop sign out there. But it's something I think it might be worth looking into as far as having a stop sign, because it is scary sometimes in our neighborhood sometimes. Not all the time, but it's something that we notice. So I just pray and hope that nothing happens before we have to address it. So.
All right, James, now's your opportunity to provide a closing statement. You have a little over 2 minutes if you'd like to use it.
Yeah, I would just reiterate some of the aspects of some of the things I do. Like I said, I play competitive baseball this ring is from a national championship that I won 2 years ago down in Arizona for 60 and over, by the way, believe it or not. And we've won local championships. So I'm used to playing on teams. I can't win the game by myself. Neither can anybody out there. But what I can do is do my part. And that's what I hope to do here if selected to be on this board. And most of that preparation comes before I even get to the ballpark. And it comes from being at the gym, running, and do all the other things to do. And then when I show up on game day, I'm ready to do what we do and play a part in winning. So I realize that it's a team atmosphere, and working with people is it's not going to be about me. Let's put it that way. But I want to do my part and do my part to help my community. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, James. We appreciate it.
Thank you for considering me, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. and
I can stay here, right?
You can stay in now, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now move on to our next candidate. I might note we're only 1 minute behind schedule. Isn't that pretty amazing? So, yeah, we'll get there, we'll get there. Well, welcome, Sarah.
Hello.
The process we're using is you'll have about 3 minutes or less, if you'd like to take less, to introduce yourself and make an opening statement.
Okay.
We'll then take turns asking you questions, and then at the end, we'll reserve about 2 minutes, give or take, for you to make a closing statement for anything you may want to add, or maybe that we didn't ask you that you wanted to add on to. So I'm going to
Perfect.
give the floor to you to go ahead and start off.
Awesome. Well, good evening, members of the board. My name is Sarah Perkins, and it's an honor to stand before you guys tonight as a candidate for the position of trustee. I'm fueled by a profound belief in the power of education and commitment to serving our community. With a background in finance, credit education, and a deep dedication to service, I see this as an opportunity to be a natural progression in my journey to contribute to the betterment of our local schools. As trustee, my top 3 priorities would be centered around academic excellence and student achievement, financial responsibility and transparency, and safeguarding student and parents' rights, which is why I thoroughly enjoyed being able to volunteer this year for the LCAP Advisory Board. So that's been a great experience. As a parent with a freshman at West Park High School, a 7th grader at Chilton Middle School, along with 2 grandchildren, one that attends Westbrook Elementary and one at Orchard Ranch Pre-K. And plus, I have a brand new grandson just born earlier this month that will be eventually entering the school district. I feel like it gives me a huge personal stake in the success of our district. Professionally, I serve as a credit education specialist for Blue Water Credit here in Roseville, where I offer invaluable credit education through in-person classes, webinars, radio, TV, podcasts, as well as working one-on-one with our enrolled clients, and also being honored to work with disadvantaged youth and families through government programs to help empower them to learn finances and credit. My diverse career includes, I actually still own a printing company in Sonoma County with my family. I've also managed a debt settlement company. I ran an investigations department for a national debt buying agency, and this has all equipped me with financial expertise, negotiation skills, and a commitment to community empowerment. Also, as a parent to a biracial son and a grandparent to multiracial grandchildren, coupled with my ability to overcome challenges being a teen mom and then putting myself through college and then putting my adult son through college, it's helped me put in a unique position to be able to champion for an environment where we don't leave any children behind. So as you can see, I bring a unique set of skills, knowledge, perspective to the board, and I hope to have the opportunity to contribute to the growth and the success of the school district. So thank you.
Thank you. I think, Heidi, you're up first this time. But even if you're not, you are.
Okay, I can be ready right now. What school did your kids go through?
So I have a freshman at West Park right now and a 7th grader at Chilton. My oldest one actually was in the Roseville School District. We moved to Sonoma County, and then I came back during COVID, and actually one of the things that drew me back here was the schools. So I wanted my kids to be in a better school system that we were, and then become more in part of the community in the school district, so.
Okay, so at your time, either at any of the schools?
Yes.
Would you say that you have a highlight, something that you feel like is kind of your, the best part or the best experience, and then any area of opportunity or anything that you would want to see different?
Well, both of my children at Chilton, I think it's been an honor that they both have been part of the leadership classes that they've had there. They've had to go through a whole interview process and become involved in the school. So being new kids coming in at the, during COVID, during like 6th grade and 4th grade, and trying to make new friends and just get out there, I've really encouraged being like involved, and they are very well received, and they've made a lot of great friends, and the teachers have been great. Again, the downside to that though is, they went into a community where they didn't know anybody, and maybe where they've had a little bit, I don't want to say teasing or bullying, or just, it's hard coming in as a preteen into school and then trying to figure everything out. So my oldest, well, my middle one, I always call my oldest because it's 12 years apart, but he's probably struggled a little bit more with just being a little bit of like an outcast, just being able to not make as friends easily, and just trying to figure out how do I champion for him and other students that are like that, especially when you come off of COVID and people are learning social skills and stuff again. So that's been really important to me.
Marla.
Can you share if you've been to any of our board meetings and what you see our role and responsibility is?
Yeah, no. So actually, I have not been to one in person. I did watch, I think, one very heated one that went late into the night. But it was very nice to see that every parent had a chance to speak. That might have been the Roseville City one. I don't know if it was this one, but it was nice to see the involvement with the community and the parents and the board all trying to really work together, and everybody being heard. I feel like I'm one of those people that kind of like sways in the middle, and I really try to listen to both sides of the story. I think it comes with my negotiations background too. You have to try to make everybody happy. You have to give and take, and it's learning where you do that giving and taking, and know that you're not going to get everything that you want. So you're going to have to give up some stuff, but it's, how you do that.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you a question. You state that one of the several challenges facing public education is bullying and safety concerns.
Yes.
Can you tell me, if you know at all, what the district has done well and what they could improve on in this area?
Well, being that I have the freshmen at West Park High School, we had that fun incident at the beginning of the school year where there was a threat that was called in, and wasn't quite sure if, I don't think it was handled properly, but it's a new school, and you guys are trying to figure things out. I didn't get irate and so go, why did this happen? Why were kids able to just leave campus like they did? I know that we have to work together and figure sometimes those things out as they happen. My husband right now, he's considered retired, but he's a juvenile correction counselor. So unfortunately, I hear a lot of the really bad stuff that happens, and that when kids aren't held accountable, the results of that, getting them back into the schools and the safety concerns, and if kids aren't feeling safe at school, they're not going to learn well. So that's why it's a big concern of mine, and I think we just have to have more conversations about it. So I think it's a work in progress. I see some good stuff, and I see obviously things that need to be worked on.
All right. Sarah, you mentioned in one of your answers to the questions, parents being involved and informed. Looking back at the way this board handled the student rights, parent rights, and the balancing of those rights, do you have any feedback on the policy that we ultimately came up with, or personal opinions on whether it's good, bad, could be changed, anything like that?
My personal opinion is I think you really have to give the rights back to the parents. That's what I feel really adamant about, that parents need to stay informed. And I know that we need to protect our children at school and protect their safety, and maybe they don't feel comfortable sharing certain things at home or certain mandates that are going on. But I think keeping the parents informed and the communication open is definitely number one. I was one of those people out there when I moved up here that was on the line, picket line saying, I didn't want masks for my kids, but it was nice to be out there and be respected by like all the parents and felt like that the board and the district were listening to what the parents wanted for their kids to have a better learning environment. And I think I was very proud in the way it was handled, especially when I go back and talk to my friends and parents that are back in like the Santa Rosa School District, where I felt like it wasn't handled very well. And I can see my niece and friends' kids that are suffering because of the policies of the board not listening to the parents and not standing up for the rights of the parents and the kids.
Any other questions? We have time for at least one, maybe two if they're short.
Yes. Another one of your priorities you listed was academic excellence and student achievement. So can you share from your experiences or observations where we might need to improve and where we might excel?
So again, I've learned a lot being part of this LCAP advisory board and learning what goes into how you prioritize where the money's going, what the kids are supposed to be learning. I like all the different opportunities and pathways, and knowing that it's not always college is the right avenue for kids. That's not just our only measure of success, that there's other ways that kids can be successful in technical fields, or just getting not classified as English, there's language that as Spanish is their language, that they're able to acclimate with English and in the classroom. So I really like that there's a lot of effort going into finding different ways that kids can be successful. I was one of those parents that, because I put myself through college and then I thought that's what you're supposed to do, and I really pushed my adult son, that's what you have to do, you need to go to college. And luckily we had assistance and he didn't leave college in too much debt, and I didn't either. But I don't know if I necessarily would want that for my children now if they don't really want it. So I see success in academics as a whole bunch of different things, and that we can try to make individual plans or something that can cater to all different kind of successes. So I think that you guys are really doing that well in the way that you're measuring it and just the opportunities that are available for them. Mm-hmm.
You have any others? This might be too long of a question for the time we have a lot.
Oh, no.
You talk about curriculum and controversial topics, which is a big area to speak, but we've only got like 3.5 minutes left, including your closing statement. So can you share with us sort of concisely any viewpoints or anything that you'd like to share with us in those areas, and then we'll get to your closing statement.
Yes, probably the two subject matters that stick out to me is, the conversation around, the critical race theory, teaching that in the classrooms, and also anything that has to do with, sexual orientations or something that's just, I feel might be too young for our younger kids, but finding a way to, I want us to have conversations about those kind of things, and we know that they're out there, but it's learning how to have constructive ways of teaching it and also not feel like those things are being pushed upon our children and that they are devaluing what the family is teaching at home. So I think that that's number one, is that we need to really value different people's religions, backgrounds, and respect those, but in a way also that we're in the real world. We're going to deal with these kind of things. So again, trying to find a balance on how you teach those kind of things, but in a respectful way.
Great. You actually did that in the perfect amount of time. So now you have about 2 minutes to provide a closing statement.
Okay. So I'll probably not take that long, but I just really wanted to say thank you guys again for listening to me today. I kind of just did this on a whim. I had some people say, Sarah, you'd be really great at this. I got the opportunity with the LCAP, and I was like, you know what, I really want to get more involved. Gosh, what do I have, like 5 kids, including my kids and grandkids, that are going to be going through this school district, and for a long time, being that one's only 2 weeks old. So, I have a really vested interest that, that things, work well here, that no kid is left behind. I'm just really dedicated to the future of the children in this district, and that's why I'm just so passionate about it.
Thank you very much. We
right.
appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
All right, and we can bring in our next candidate. Still only a minute behind schedule. Welcome. You can come right up to the podium. I assume you're Dylan?
Yes, I'm Dylan.
All right, welcome, Dylan. The way this will work is you have about 3 minutes to provide an opening statement.
Okay.
We'll then take turns asking you a variety of questions, and we'll reserve about 2 minutes at the end for a closing statement, and just in the event you want to cover something that we didn't get to in our questions.
Okay.
So with that, the floor is yours for a 3-minute opening.
All right, great. So my name is Dylan Jackson. I've been in the community. My wife and I bought a house 22 years ago. I had to look it up. So we're in the middle of District 3 right now. My wife's a school teacher. I've been volunteering with a lot of my kids. We think it's really important as parents to be involved with all your kids' life and socially. So I started volunteering at the preschool level when they were that young. And then over the elementary side, I was on school site council at Blue Oaks Elementary School, and then the middle school for Chilton Middle School site council, and then now at West Park on that side. So I'm on the vice president of the Boosters Club, and I started up the cross country Boosters Club for them as well. I've got a senior and a freshman over there right now. They both love into school. They've gone through all Roseville schools their whole life. Been dedicated to the community. We're trying to do a lot of stuff. And when this came up, I kind of saw it as an opportunity just for me to like continue volunteering, continue to be a part, trying to help out where I can. I do think it's really important that parents get involved with their kids and their lives. Academics is obviously a huge part. This just seemed like a great opportunity to continue volunteering for myself and try to keep giving back to the community.
Wonderful. All right. I don't know whose turn it is. Marlo, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Can you share if you've attended any of our board meetings? Do you know what you're getting into? And what do you think
Yes.
our roles and responsibilities are here?
Great. Yeah, so I've been to a few of them. I've been to a few in person and a few on Zoom. I think Zoom really changed a lot of that, where it made it very easy. I mean, before it was always like, I think one of the first ones I came down to was my son was applying. He wanted to go to get a transfer, and he came down and actually spoke in this room 5 years ago to ask for a transfer at that point. So that was our first time coming to a board meeting. But yes, I do know there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of opinions being shared. I've been to a few of them, so I think, yeah, I'm kind of familiar with some of the process and some of the stuff you have to do. And I forgot the second part of your question.
Roles and responsibilities, how do you think we work? What's your understanding?
My understanding, I mean, I think a lot of it, I mean, there's always a lot of legal side of it too, but I mean, a lot of it, at the end of the day, the board really, I feel it's important to represent the needs of the students, the parents, the community, what's going forward, as well as, teach the bread and butter of the classes. I mean, obviously you need to have curriculum adopted, you need to have schools funded, you need budgets and things like that. So there's all that side of it. And I think you have to provide that part of it as well as provide future needs for the students, future needs for like going forward. I mean, I'm an engineer, so I think a lot about how things are changing and how careers are changing. And I think the board is ultimately responsible for those types of things of like, hey, here's how we're doing it here. Things like cell phones come out, weather things, how do we prepare our kids to be ready to come through the schools, to be successful there, but then also thinking about, hey, what are they gonna do when they graduate? What are they gonna do like 10 years down the road? How are they gonna be ready for careers that we haven't even thought about today? And those are kind of things I think need to be back of mind of everybody on the board to prepare of, how do we get my kids ready today, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and their needs.
Heidi, you want to go next?
All right, sure. So on your top 3 priorities, you had listed safety or keeping our students safe. And I just wondered if you had anything specific or wanted to elaborate on that at all.
Well, I think safety is a big thing right now. I think there's a lot of different topics for that. I think there's like obviously the physical safety side, but I think there's also just make sure every kid has that right to learn and has a great opportunity to do everything they can. I mean, it's always been you want every child to be able to reach their full potential through school, right? You hate for that to be like maybe they're burdened by bullying or things like that, of course. So I think that safety side is often really important just to make sure that everybody has that ability to learn as much as they can, get all the opportunities they can, and be as successful as they can, because high school is a 4-year period and you don't want to like waste it with anxiety or fear or concern. They really should be able to focus entirely on what they need to do and how to get through high school.
Camilla.
Hi, thank you for coming. I'd like to ask you, how do you believe your vision for education aligns with the goals of the school district?
How do my vision for education align with the school district? I think they should be similar. I mean, back to my original thoughts of, oops, I'm sorry. I think about high school having to prepare people for going forward, right? I think you think about there's these standards you have to meet and things like that. But I think beyond just, hey, can you get these tests, these scores on these tests? I think you have to also prepare for like, hey, after school, are you going trade school? Are you going professional? Are you going to whatever that might be? I think those align with where I'm going with it. So I'm not quite sure.
So what I'm referring to is our objectives. I don't know if you're familiar with them. So preparing all students
Okay.
for life, college, and career. So you said that.
Yeah.
And then work in partnership with families and the community, and utilize effective governance and business practices. Do you
Yeah.
have any ideas on how you would work in partnership with families and the community?
I mean, I think it's important there. I think one of the key things right now, there's a lot of conversation around that. I think it's really important that we give the kids all the resources they need to be successful. I think it's important that they have access to the technology, the literature, whatever they might need for that. I think that's a critical thing for students. So I think from that point of view of partnering with the community of like, hey, what do these kids need? Make sure they have what they need. We have a good district. It's really strong. We have the funds. We have the teachers. I feel like we really should be able to push all these kids to take that as far as possible. And I mean, effective governance and business practice, I think we have to be aligned with that. I mean, you have a budget, you have school, you have to meet things. I think I'd be surprised if we're not aligned on things like that.
Okay, thank you.
So over the last 3 years, this board's dealt with a lot of high-profile, controversial, divisive, many ways to describe them, topics such as COVID, returning to school, masking, vaxxing, parental rights, student rights, library materials, curriculum development and approval process. From your perspective as a parent and what you've seen or heard or watched, any comments on how we may have approached those issues, how you might contribute to a similar or different approach going forward, or any personal comments you have on any of those issues?
Sure, there's a lot in there. So I guess to first start off with, I mean, I should have started with this. I have to applaud everybody who went through all that. I mean, those have been a lot of tasks that I never saw early on school boards. I think, everyone who's involved with that, thank you, and I appreciate you guys going through that. I think COVID's a great example of like, it was a very, very difficult time. I don't think we as a country knew all the stuff we had to do, and navigating through that was a huge challenge. I think everyone was trying to get their best way they could do it. Nobody knew exactly what to do, and I think you guys did what we had to do with that, so we had to go forward with that. So I think that was, how we got through it, and with what we had, I think it was perfectly acceptable. I think a lot of you touch a little bit on like some like literature things. I think it's really important that students have access to what they want. I think it's important that what may be right for one, I guess backing up a little bit, I think it's important that parents talk with their kids and figure out what's right for their family, what's right for their curriculum. I think that's critical. I mean, I talk to my kids at the dinner table and the drive to school and those types of things. We try to have those conversations. I think that's really important, but I also feel it's really important that all the students can get all the information they want. I think that's one of the challenges I know it's going for the board right now of like, hey, if we have these types of materials and this is not right for this family, but it is for that family, how do you figure out and how do you balance what's the solution that meets everybody's needs?
I lost track of, I think, you have another question?
I can go. Or
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
your mic's on.
Yeah, your mic's on, we'll let you go.
Can you finish what you were just saying? So you're saying we have this challenging problem. You have different families that want different things, and we have to work through that. So what do you think the answer is?
I think it comes down to we have a lot of families who want different things. I think you have to figure out what's right for the group in general. I guess to kind of go a little bit in that, I feel like there's a lot of opinions on two very different sides, and they're very vocal. I do think we have to make sure we keep the people in the middle focused as well. We have to really understand where we get everyone going forward with that. So I think that as you hear both sides, you have to figure out what's right. Perhaps it's a situation where if this particular text is not appropriate for as a family decided, we have ways to opt out today, right? We have certain subjects where I don't feel this is appropriate for my kid, I'm gonna pull them out of that. I can not have them watch this movie or whatever that might be. I think that's a great compromise for everybody else. I also feel very strong that if there are things that my children, I do not want them to have limitations of what they can have access to. I think that's a personal point that I have, that we have to figure out how do we compromise that. And I think it's a group, I think it's a community, and figure out what can work out for everybody at large.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Heidi?
All right. So as a really active parent at West Park
Yeah.
High, do you have anything that you would kind of highlight as the strength of the school, or what you've loved most being there, and then any opportunities for improvement or anything that you'd want to see different?
Yeah, that's great. So my son was one of the first 9th graders to come in there, so that was a great opportunity to be, I guess, back to like best efforts. There was, I'll be honest, it was great because everything's brand new, everybody's new, everyone's got a lot of energy, and that's great. On the flip side, there's a lot of things that weren't quite spun up yet, and there was a lot of growing pains that went on. So a great example was like we started the cross-country boosters club for my son. He was a big runner, and we started that up, and like starting to figure out most of these clubs already have like, oh, we already have this club. Here's how you sign up. Here's how you get uniforms. We had to figure all that stuff out. So it was very personally fulfilling to be able to get there and say, oh yeah, we started this and we brought it from here to here and we established that culture, and that was great. On the flip side, it was a lot of work to get from here to here to establish a new culture, and that was really cool, but there's a lot of things like that are still like growing there. I mean, it's a great campus, it's a great school. Becky House is amazing over there. She's running a great school. It's just, there's a lot of things that can still be done, which is a great opportunity, but there's just things that haven't been established that you're starting to figure out, and that's fun, and it's a challenge as well.
We have time for one more question, if anyone has one. All right, I have a question
Yeah.
for you.
I'm going through the notes. I'm nervous.
Yes, yes. Well, I mix everything up, so if I don't have it in notes. One of the priorities you had was enabling teachers and staff with time and resources to prepare students. Do you feel we're lacking in that area? What generated that, or what's the genesis of that?
I think there's a lot on every teacher's plate. I mean, every teacher I've talked to in work, they spend a lot of hours. My wife's included. She's just always spending a lot of time. I think we have to just make sure we give them all the time and resources they need to focus on what they really need to do. I think sometimes things get stacked on top that maybe aren't the critical priority of educating the kids. And I think it's important that we allow those teachers to really focus on, hey, if you're like a math teacher, you have everything you need to teach math to these kids, and you have the time and the resources, and you're not being pulled off to some other thing that maybe might be interesting but might distract from that. I mean, teachers are not an infinite ball of energy. Sometimes they feel like it, but we have to definitely focus on making sure they're there. We have to avoid burnout. We have to make sure they're successful. They can grow programs. So I think that was the point I wanted to make, because they're just not an infinite source of energy, and we have to prioritize what we're asking them to do.
Great. I think we've asked all the questions. Anyone have any other last questions? So we'll give you an opportunity for a closing statement.
Yeah. I guess first of all, I just want to say, thank you for the opportunity to come out here. I mean, when this kind of came up, it sounded like something I really want to be a part of. I felt like I've been trying to volunteer in the school where I can. I feel like I've been trying to grow that. I just see this as a kind of a natural way. Can I do more? It'd be great. I would love to do more. If I'm doing what I'm doing before, I'd be happy doing that as well. But I really want to say thank you for the opportunity here. I want to say thank you for all the great challenges over the last 3 or 4 years, COVID and beyond, of all things that have come through. I know that's been terrible, and there's been a lot of critical thoughts about that, but I know everyone here is people. We're trying to do the best we can, and I appreciate all your efforts, and I appreciate the opportunity to come talk to you tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we are ready for
Let me turn this off. Or
no, you can leave it on. Our last candidate. See how this flew by? Welcome.
Good evening.
Are you okay if we call you Bill, or do you want to?
Please, yeah,
Bill?
that's
Okay.
that's what I go by. So
Welcome, Bill.
thank you.
The process tonight, as I think has been shared with you, you'll have about 3 minutes to provide an opening statement. The board will then ask a variety of questions, and then we'll give you an opportunity for about 2-ish minutes, give or take, for a closing statement. So with
Okay.
that, the floor is yours.
Launch away. Well, hopefully, last but not least, this evening, thank you all for having me, and thank you everyone who's tuning in and here tonight to observe. My name is Bill Schutz. I am a proud parent of 3 students who have benefited or are benefiting from the education and foundation for success this district has given them. As a parent of a current sophomore and 2 graduates from Oakmont High School, I have personally a vested interest in the success of our district. Go Vikings, got to slip that in. My family and I have lived in the Dry Creek community since 2008 and have given back to our local schools, including Oakmont, in meaningful ways over the years, including most recently by serving on the site council here at Oakmont. I also had the privilege of serving on the Dry Creek School Board for 6 years. As I'm sure you will all agree, service on a school district board is one of the greatest ways one can give back not only to the district families, but our community and society as a whole. I really sincerely believe that. It's one of the best ways you can give back. I served on the Dry Creek Board during a time when we were faced with unprecedented challenges, at times forced to build their plane while flying it at the same time. I'm sure you've heard that similar phrase. Despite these challenges, through the labor-intensive efforts of the district administrative team, teacher staff, and under the direction and leadership of the dedicated board of which I was a part, Dry Creek students were among the first public school students in Placer County and the first in Sacramento County to return to in-person instruction during the pandemic. It's often overlooked, but really amazing feat. This remarkable accomplishment was far from easy, but proved to be a critical to the social emotional well-being of the students we served, and a model that other school districts throughout the state sought to replicate. In addition to my service on the Dry Creek Board, to the students and families there, for over 23 years, I have dedicated my professional career to supporting public education as an education attorney, advising and supporting school districts statewide on various areas, including personnel matters, charter schools, student matters, business facilities, and governance. The perspective, experience, and knowledge I have gained as a prior board member, an education attorney, and through my other volunteer roles will enable me to hit the ground running and uniquely contribute to the district's leadership team for the benefit of the students and families that we serve. If appointed, I will work with my board member colleagues and all stakeholders to ensure that the district puts education first by remaining focused on the engagement, learning, achievement, and social-emotional well-being of our students through a positive and supporting learning environment. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share more information about myself and for considering me for appointment to the board. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just like an attorney, right on the 3 minutes. Perfect. Perfect. All right. You go first.
Oh, man, I was not ready. I thought I was
Okay,
last.
well then, you ready to go first? All right, you're now up second.
Hi, Bill. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
I'd like to ask you, what steps would you take to ensure that all students have equal access to a quality education?
Sure, and I think that's really important. And what does equality mean? It's ensuring we're having a lot of the same resources coming in at equal footing. I know it's really tough given the very diverse student population and communities that we have here. It was in many ways similar to what we had at Dry Creek, but looking at different ways that we can provide supports to all those communities. Looking at the dashboard we just got recently and looking where, hey, we're doing great overall or we're doing great over here, but these are some areas that we can improve. So it's really with that focus and providing those supports to, help improve throughout the district.
Thank you.
Heidi.
All right, so you were an Oakmont parent. You are an Oakmont
I am, yeah.
parent. Okay, so as an Oakmont parent, what would you say has been highlight or one of the biggest strengths of the school or the district, and then any opportunities for improvement that you might see?
Sure. So Oakmont's got great history, tradition. I've learned, we've been one of the older schools, but we've really offered everything every other district does. We have a great IB program. We've got the Healthcare Academy, and one of my daughters is in Culinary Academy now. So a lot of different opportunities, but I really appreciate the leadership, the administration, and including student leadership. And that's really been highlighted for me while serving on the site council and seeing just how much they're doing for the whole school. I think as far as challenges, I mentioned older. Yeah, we've got some older facilities that could use some help. We had new tennis courts this year, which was great. Didn't have too many away games because everyone wanted to come to us for the new courts. But that's something we can work on. And also, we did have some challenges at Oakmont once West Park opened and a large portion of our population left. But I think we've really weathered that well. So that's kind of a positive and negative, but I think we've really tackled it and are overcoming those challenges.
Did you ask her?
I have not asked a
Okay.
single question.
I feel like you did, but that was the other person. So.
It's been a long night, I know.
I know. So you were on the board, Dry Creek's board till 2022.
Correct.
Did you run for reelection? So why are you not still serving?
Yes, I did run for reelection. All three incumbents on the board were not reelected. So that's the long and short
Why
of it.
do you think? Why?
I think
guess
it was.
I'm just trying to get at
Yeah,
why.
absolutely.
What was your assessment of why you were
I think it
reelected?
was coming out of the pandemic. There was still some misinformed about how things were done or run, and I think it was overlooked how well we did as a governing body to bring kids back and open our schools and still have high achievement through that period. And I just think those things were overlooked, and the sound bites of the time, all three incumbents lost as a result. There's a lot of factors, given that time when that election occurred compared to others, but I think that's the biggest factor. It had nothing to do, frankly, with the performance of the board or frankly, the satisfaction of our stakeholders as we were informed. It was outside issues that really we couldn't control. So.
Okay, thank you.
Well, as you know, you dealt with the COVID stuff as you've spoken about, but there's
Right.
a lot of other big and controversial issues that have been percolating for a while here. Parental rights, student rights, the balance or imbalance of those rights, access to library materials, curriculum development, curriculum approval. Now, I know it happened after you left your previous board, but that board and our board took different approaches in the issue of parents' rights, student rights, parental notification. Love to hear your thoughts about either each or one over the other process, anything that, from your perspective, as sort of a former board member, informed parent, to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know those are challenging issues, unprecedented often for school boards throughout the state to kind of deal with those issues. I think when I was on Dry Creek board, like you mentioned, is before some of the most recent issues, but we had some challenges, dealing with the mandates associated with the pandemic. So I think it's been, through that process, it was about hearing from our stakeholders and figuring out who is there and is our stakeholders from other individuals that were coming in, and really hearing them and doing what's best to address their interests and their concerns. While, and I, as a lawyer, I believe in the law and following the law. So having that, being able to work and get the advice, being on the council, and I understand as a school board, I take off my hat and I wear a hat as a school board member, and I'm going to rely on, recommendations and information we get from administration and from legal counsel, and then, and hear from our stakeholders from all their points of view, but ultimately, doing what's best in the best interest of the district as a whole, I think is key, while trying best to address all those individual interests and concerns as well along the way.
I'm going to ask a follow-up since you touched on it. Having that unique role of being a education attorney, but also being in closed session where you're a board member and hearing from a different educational attorney. How'd you handle those situations where your personal view on the law and the attorney's view on the law collided?
And I think I said this in my interviews for appointment to Dry Creek Board. I understand the different roles, and I'm going to wear that school district hat. But if there's something I don't agree with, I'm gonna say it from a legal standpoint. And I have very collegial relationships with attorneys from all. In education law, we're a very small group, and I probably worked with a lot of those, one time or another throughout the years. But it definitely, I'm wearing that hat of a perspective of doing what's best for the district And if I'm hearing something that's really not that or diverging from that, I'm gonna voice it. But it's not gonna be adversarial, it's gonna be collegial and informative.
Any other questions? Seeing none, you'll have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Okay, sure. So very shortly, thank you again for the opportunity and taking the time out of your busy schedules to hear from me this evening. And I know this process is labor intensive. I hope you've all gotten to know some more about me beyond just what's on paper and what I can bring to the board if appointed. If appointed, I know that I will be able to hit the ground running and immediately contribute meaningfully to the board and district for the benefit of the students and the families that the board serves. So with that, thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much. All right, so we actually finished a couple minutes early. Here's, for everyone who's here, here's the process we're gonna take. Each board member has a score sheet in front of them, and they've been asked to score each applicant with a score of 1, 2, or 3. With 1 being the high number. And what we are going to do is we're going to take a few minutes of silence here for board members to register their votes on the respective column. When they're done, they'll hand me their votes, and I will read the votes into the record. As I read the votes into the record, Kim will put them into a spreadsheet so that we get the total. From there, we will then deliberate amongst the top scoring candidates, with the top being the lowest score, since 1 is our high number. And then we will hopefully come to an agreement on an appointment. After that, we will then go to the next agenda item, which is determining whether we will move forward with the second appointment tonight, or if we will agendize that for a future meeting. So I'm going to start by just asking my board to take a couple of minutes. Let me know when you've completed your ballot. You can just fold it in half and hand it to me when you're done, and then I will read them into the record. So we can all sit here in our awkward silence. All right, we are going to get going momentarily. All right, we are now reconvened. I'm going to go ahead and read the scores in. Kim, are you ready? All right, starting with me, starting at the top, Andrea 2, Carrie 3, Renee 3, Garrett 1, Tiffany 1, James 1, Sarah 1, Dylan 2, Bill 2. Heidi, you ready for the next column? Andrea 2, Carrie 1, Renee 3, Garrett 2, Tiffany 1, James 1, Sarah 2, Dylan 3, Bill 3. Ready? Marla. Sorry. Andrea 3, Carrie 1, Renee 3, Garrett 3, Tiffany 1, James 2, Sarah 2, Dylan 2, Bill 3. Ludmilla, are you ready? She's a much faster typer than me. Andrea 3, Carrie 1, Renee 3, Garrett 3, Tiffany 1, James 2, Sarah 1, Dylan 3, Bill 3. I'm going to hand those in for the record.
Okay, so.
If you just want to read off the totals, and I'll write them on mine. Everyone can write them on your schedule if you'd like.
Andrea 10.
Can you say that
Andrea
again?
10.
Okay.
Carrie, let me put my glasses on. 6. Renee 12. Garrett 9. Tiffany 4. James 6. Sarah 6. Dylan 10. Bill 11.
Okay.
Is that right?
Got them all? Okay, I'll just put this in between us. So, based on that, our board had decided that we would look at the top scoring candidates and deliberate on the appointment. So from my recording here, top candidate is Tiffany with a score of 4.
Correct.
The next tier is with a score of 6, 3 candidates, Carrie, James, and Sarah. Oh, I should have brought a highlighter here. So based on that, this is an opportunity for the board to now deliberate or take a motion.
Considering we have 4 ones for one person, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Tiffany.
We have a motion to appoint Tiffany. By the way, this is for the opening that was created by Julie Hirota's departure. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 4-0. Where is she? Are you here? Congratulations. Welcome. Now what we are going to do is I am going to ask Ludmilla to leave. And I'll explain why in a moment for everyone else. Leave, but don't go far, because we expect you back for the next meeting. Once she leaves the room, I'll tell you how we're going to proceed. So as you know, we have 2 openings. Well, we have 1 now, but we had 2 openings. And by law, a departing member cannot participate in the selection of their replacement. So what we are going to do is we are going to strike Ludmilla's scores from the tally.
Right. Yeah, you know I have that.
And then once that is done, Kim will read out the new scores that are absent her votes, and then the board will decide what we are going to do from there. So once you're ready, let me know. You give me a little warning so I'm ready to write. Are you ready? So you'll now read them to me, starting with Andrea and working our way down.
Okay. Andrea, 7. Glasses again, hold on. Carrie, 5. Renee, 9. Garrett, 6. James, 4. Sarah, 5.
Oh, wait, hang on, I got out of.
Oh, I
wait.
missed, I
Yeah,
skipped
I
Tiffany.
forgot to skip
'cause
Tiffany. Okay, so
she's already a board
James
member now.
was,
James, 4.
mhm.
Sarah, 5. Dylan, 7. Bill, 8.
Okay, so now looking at the top candidates, we have Carrie with a 5, James with a 4, Sarah with a 6. So now, I'm sorry, 5. Sorry, let me say that again. I was looking at the wrong line. So our top scoring candidates are Carrie with a 5,
Correct,
James with a 4, Sarah with a 5.
correct.
So now, what we will do here is the board, just the three of us, we have an option to do one of two things. We can deliberate and make an appointment amongst the 3 candidates that scored in the top, keeping in mind that with the law on voting, we have to have at least 3 members voting in favor in order to make an appointment. Alternatively, if we choose not to make an appointment tonight, or if we choose to make an appointment but cannot get a majority vote of 3, or unanimous vote in this case, then we can set it for the next meeting. If we set it for the next meeting, our newest board member will have been sworn in and will participate in the meeting, and we will start anew with new interviews. So with that, I ask my colleagues if you feel that you would like to move forward with an appointment based from those 3 top scorers. We can either have a discussion, or if you feel that you would like to make a motion for any one of the 3, I would entertain that motion now.
I'm comfortable making a motion for the highest scoring person that we have right now, which is James.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I will second the motion so that we can get to a vote. So we have a motion and a second to appoint James Jenkins.
Can we have discussion?
Yes, now we have discussion, once we have a motion. So now that we have a motion on the floor, we can have a discussion.
So I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer here. I like, so I'll just start out with that. I like all 3 people that are in the top 3. So this isn't so much about a wrong decision as what's the best decision for me. I placed a high value, well, I also ranked. So I had a small differentiation between Carrie and James only because I'm thinking forward. And we have a very young, tenured board, not age-wise, but experience and, I know. Well,
I get it.
we're young except for Pete. How's that? No, so we are, so you 2 being a little over 3 years, I'm almost 2. The loss of Julie, of having the experience of 7 years, I think, I always appreciate her wisdom just because she'd been around so long. So I know there are issues. So I preferred Carrie just a little over James because of her experience in the educational field, and I felt like that could lend some good questions and perspective to the board. And that was why I gave her a slight edge over James. But I also understand that with all that vast experience, there might be concerns with like the blending of roles.
Yeah, thank you. I agree that she definitely has more experience in education. I do have a pretty serious concern with potential conflicts with placing student teachers into our district, and then the potential for any personnel decisions. We have to vote as a board for anyone who is hired, released from probation, fired, any issues with where there is anything that is appealed to our board. And I think I don't want to do anything that would put us in a position where Sacramento State's not sending student teachers to us. I just think it poses a couple of different issues that to me are a little higher concern.
But couldn't she recuse herself?
She could, but I think there's a potential for role conflicts in a number of areas.
So she could recuse herself, but that's not good enough?
Well, I
I
didn't
guess
say-
that's what I'm getting at.
Oh, I'm not saying it's good enough, just like when we weigh everything with the candidates, that's weighs down for me, and it offsets the education experience.
Oh, see, I think there's great value to have the educational experience, because looking through the lens of what's the best for our students and our families, I would appreciate someone on the board that knows good questions to ask. Far more than, I mean, I know I try to come up with the best questions I can, but I'm coming from I have a different lens.
I could go either way, you guys.
Well, we have a motion, we can take a vote. If the motion fails, then we can set it for re-interviews at the next meeting.
Well, sell me on James.
Well, I think James has a few things in his corner. One is he's got a connection to the Antelope community with the community service work he does there. Quite frankly, I think it helps bring a little diversity to our board and perspectives that we don't have.
And I value that. I'm also just trying to think of what's the best thing for our students, so that I don't diminish that
Oh, yeah.
at all.
Any comments?
I like having a dad, having the dad perspective. Not that,
I am a dad. No, just kidding.
right, I'm just looking forward. But I understand your perspective too. So that's where I'm sort of in the middle. I know that doesn't help us.
Well, I also like, I liked all three. I also like Sarah's also right there too.
I think we can, the bad news is tonight we have to be unanimous. The good news is next meeting we don't have to be. So we have options. And quite frankly, if we do end up going to the next meeting, we have the ability to ask deeper questions. So the potential conflicts for me rise a little bit higher, I think, than they do to you. So.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk, put your mic on. So with that, is there any more discussion, or shall we take a vote?
Well, can John talk to that? So do you think there's potential for conflict?
Turn your mic
Or
on.
even HR? We're talking about. Might be more of a Brad. Yeah, maybe it's a Brad. I'm just curious. So what's the, how bad of a conflict is it?
What Mr. Constant says is true in the sense that you guys do make a lot of decisions around the hiring, the retention, or non-reelection of employees, as well as any discipline that may come our way, but and anything we may be talking about in closed session that has to do with a complaint regarding a potential student teacher, for example. But at the same time, yes, she can recuse herself from those conversations. Also, our history with CSUS, a recent history with student teaching is that we have not placed a lot of Sac State student teachers in our programs. I think a lot of it has to do with proximity. Oftentimes they are being placed in schools near Sac State. Oftentimes they have requirements around experiences with more diverse communities and that oftentimes we're able to offer. But we always welcome and encourage that, placements in our programs as well. We value our relationships with our education partners, whether that's Sac State or William Jessup or National or any of those UMass. We like to have those student teachers because we are trying to bring that next group up. But to answer your question, yes, it does have a potential, but yes, she can recuse herself. Okay. And I don't expect it to come up often based on our current history of having a low number of student teachers from Sac State.
Any further discussion, or shall we take a vote? See no further discussion, so I'm going to call for a vote. We have a motion on the floor to appoint James. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed?
No.
Okay, so that fails. We have the opportunity to make a motion for an alternate appointment, or we can make the decision to move this forward to the next meeting, which is my preference at this point.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion just to have more discussion and more interviews and add a fourth voice, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, I just had a little complicating factor. Yeah, so our next regular board meeting, our newest board member will not be able to attend, so we would schedule a special board meeting. But it would be, we would work with everyone's schedule to figure that out.
That sounds good.
Okay, so, what's that? So we would bring back the top 3 candidates? I'm assuming if that's part of your motion.
Yeah.
So the motion, I'll just restate it to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. The motion would be to bring back the top 3 scoring candidates, which would be Carrie, James, and Sarah, to our next meeting, which will be scheduled, a special meeting scheduled to accommodate the schedules of all involved. And at that point, we would do new interviews for appointment. And then let's get a second on that motion.
Second.
Okay, so we have a second. The only thing that I would say is it would be incumbent upon the new board member to then go and review the video of this entire meeting so that you can see all of the interviews, so you have the same information that we have at that future meeting, and we could talk to you about that. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that decision? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Good.
And
3 votes.
Tiffany only needs to watch the interviews of those 3 people, right?
Yes.
Not the whole thing.
Right. Oh, if she's bored, she can watch them all. We'll talk to you afterwards so we can make sure. All right, so that is our meeting is now complete. So we do now just have to make a determination on when we're going to swear Tiffany in, and my suggestion would be that we do it right now.
During this meeting?
Yeah, we'll do it during this meeting because it's part of the agenda item. So we're going to go ahead and call you up, Tiffany. And we'll just have you stand at the podium and we'll have, who's going to do it? You can do it. I think, yes. All right, so our superintendent will administer the oath.
Good, right there. All right. All right, I'll try to go slow. There's a lot of parts to this, so first of all, congratulations. Raise the hand. All right. I, Tiffany Coleman,
I, Tiffany Coleman,
do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well, I'll stop there,
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so this meeting is now adjourned, and we're going to reconvene in 5 minutes for our regular board meeting that will start, and you get to sit down and work.
Okay, great. Great.
After Heidi picks up her trash.
I don't speak to other board members, no.
That was something in the special meeting. That's what we decided.
When you have a vacancy, the moment we take the vote, you're a board member. It's just the way the law is. Ready for us? You'll get all of this. Okay.
Oh, even our public comment left.
All right. We are going to call to order our regular board meeting for the 23rd of January, 2024. Roll call. Look at this. We have a full board here. All of us are here. Congratulations. Our first item is adoption of the board agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the board agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. We do not have closed session, so we will not have an item 1.4 or 1.5 or 2.0. We will go ahead and say the pledge again because this is a new meeting. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good news is no report from closed session because we didn't go to closed session. Our announcement of meeting protocols. The board encourages public participation. We have a couple of different times when you'll have the opportunity to participate. One is under open forum, which I believe is item 5.7. The other is if you want to speak on any specific agenda item. If we have 10 or more members, or 10 or less members of the public wishing to speak on an item, you'll be provided 3 minutes to make your comments. If we have 10 or more, that time will be 90 seconds. We do request that everyone acts in a civil manner and uses courteous language. The board does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant and or district employee. If you do have a complaint about a specific employee or any employees of the district, those should be made to that employee's immediate supervisor, to the school site principal, or to the school site principal as outlined in our board policies and administrative regulations. This meeting, like all of ours, is being audio, video recorded and will be archived. We're going to go into our first important item, and that is recognizing Ludmilla for her service to the board. Ludmilla, we have a little something for you here. We have two little somethings. Oh, it's heavier than it looks. First, we have this as a token of remembrance, so you'll remember your time with us. Because I know you won't remember the long, boring meetings. Of course, the flowers that have already been presented at your spot. I want to thank you. I know it's been a relatively short time that you've been with us, but I really appreciated you in a number of ways. Your thoughtful approach to all of our agenda items, the questions that you've asked and the engagement that you've provided. I know you've been a visible presence at our schools and meeting with students and administrators and teachers, and I know that has provided a lot of value to the district. More than that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to get to know you and the time that we've spent together over coffee primarily, talking about a wide range of topics. I'm sorry to see you go, but I'm very happy that you've been with us the time that you have. So thank you very much for your work with us. And do my colleagues have anything that they would like to say? Jump right in.
All right. Well, first of all, just thank you for being willing to come and apply for an appointment. As we just saw, it's very courageous. And, I mean, you too, Marla, have had to experience that. So just, that courage to come and interview and meet with us and is very courageous. So I just commend you for that. And I'm sorry to see you go. You've been a great asset. And I just hope you the best of luck moving forward.
Carla.
I am also sorry to see you go, and it is a very vulnerable process to apply for an appointment. So I also echo Heidi's just admiration for thank you for stepping up to join us. I wish you the best, and I look forward to having coffee where you're just a constituent and I can just talk to you. So we'll have to do that soon.
John.
Yeah, again, Ludmilla, just thank you for being an advocate. Thank you for representing the Antelope community and being the first one in this district's history to be a board member from that community. That's important. And I know you'll be watching us from home. So, and I think the most important thing is, you don't have to be a board member to be an advocate for what the work we do in our community and our schools. And I just hope you continue doing that as your kids continue on with us. And again, I just want to see you being an advocate out there in the community. Look forward to seeing you around. And I, again, appreciate your service and keep supporting us from afar. So.
Other cabinet members, Brad, two.
I echo what John said in terms of representing the Antelope community. I think that was really important, and I think you did a wonderful job. The second thing is I was always very pleased to see how prepared you were and thoughtful you were in terms of your engagement, your questions, and your interactions. So I really appreciated that, and I'm going to miss that. So hopefully we'll see each other at the Antelope High School events.
Hey, Ludmilla, I want to also thank you for your time in serving our community, our Antelope region. I've really appreciated our time together and our site walks together and our conversations together about how we can continue to challenge our students and support all of our learners, our English language learners in particular. And then I recall the memory of seeing your son walk up to you on Antelope High School campus as we were walking classrooms together and just seeing his genuine pleasure at seeing his mother as a high school student. And that really is a testament to how you are as not just a trustee, but certainly as the mother and as a human. So thank you for continuing to look out for Roseville Joint, and I'm sure we will be in touch.
I'd like to also extend my thanks to you. Short time, but I really appreciated getting to know you, spending time with you at the Antelope graduation and having you represent Antelope, as it's been said a few times now. That was just huge. And thoughtful questions. I could always tell that you were really thinking about the issues and spending time, and your questions reflected that tonight to the candidates of, are you willing to put in the time and effort? And I could always tell that you really served us well. You'll be missed. Thank you.
Well, it's hard to go last when everybody steals the things you were going to say, but I just wanted to echo all those things I wrote down about being the first board member of Antelope. I think that's awesome and hopefully continues with more and more board members, and so I think that's a fun thing that you get to be a part of. I really enjoyed getting to know you and having our conversations about students, about transportation, about some of the challenges we face, and so I just kind of like what people said. It really rung true. You were always very prepared, thoughtful. We're always thinking of, before you spoke, like, what are the questions? What are the things and that you had concerns about? And we're really going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. It was really great getting to know you. And, you're kind of like, in my mind, a board member for life, or a constituent. So please feel free. If you ever have any questions from your family, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer just for any constituent. So it's great. Great working with you.
Except now you're limited to 3 minutes. No. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I considered joining by phone because the attention kind of makes me uncomfortable being put on the spot, but I really appreciate all the kind words you guys said to me. It's been a roller coaster of a year. I think we've accomplished a lot. And I just want to say, to the people that are coming on, you're in really, really good hands because you have a great, great board colleagues who will support you all the way. You have a great administration who never makes you feel like you're alone in any of this. Those are my shout outs to the fellow board members, to the administration, to the principals, to the teachers, to some of the parents that I've met in this journey, and also for offering the leadership coaching and training. I think that was a huge part of my success on the board as a first year, and I really appreciated that. It made me work harder. It stretched my limits, made me go beyond my boundaries of what I thought I was capable of. But I've really grown through the process, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity that everybody has afforded me by holding this position. So I appreciate everything. Thank you.
And now when we go out to coffee, I don't have to dodge a question and say, Brown Act, we can't talk about it. I can talk to you.
Anybody about this?
I can talk to you about everything now. So again, we really appreciate you, and thank you for being part of the selection process tonight as we move forward to fill Julie's role. And now, I'm going to ask you to read our board objectives for the last time. This is your last opportunity to share with the public our board objectives.
The Roseville Joint Union High School District Board Objectives: prepare all students for life, college, and career, high-quality academic opportunities, supporting students' physical, mental, and emotional health, work in partnering with families and the community. The school is a welcoming, safe environment that serves as a center of student learning, activities, athletics, and performing arts. Promote a sense of community in the school and the surrounding area. Utilize effective governance and business practices, remain open, transparent, and accountable to the community, serve as an employer of choice with the highest quality teachers and staff.
Thank you. We'll now do board reports. I actually have nothing to report because I didn't prepare for that part of the meeting. So whatever, I'll catch up next time. Marla.
I made it out to Roseville High School. Since the last meeting, I don't even know what date that was, but I know I did that. And I really enjoyed the visit. I specifically asked to see where the new buildings and just what was coming down and what just the vision. And I'm excited for that community. So that was, since I know we'll start getting more updates, that was nice to be able to visualize all the change. And then, as usual, I asked to see the CTE, different, just unique classes. So I just really appreciated that visit. And she's not here, but thanks.
Any board report? Maybe I have a report. I think I went out to lunch with Natalie. I think that's the only thing I've done of note. So thank you for giving me something to talk about.
All right. Welcome, Tiffany. Thank you for coming out tonight and being brave and standing in front of all these people while we badger you with questions. So we're really excited that you're here. I feel the same way that you did, just really encouraged by how many applicants we got. And that made my heart happy. So thank you for being part of that. I got a great tour with Miss Govea, who's not here tonight, but we got to walk around Oakmont High School, and that was really fun. I always just like to be surprised. You always reach out to me, Trustee Hall, what would you like to see? I'm like, surprise me. I just love whatever you guys have to show me. And so we just had a great time at Oakmont and wandered through IB and just looking at some potential cosmetic improvements and just kind of sprucing up the charm around there. And we had a great visit. So that's all I did. And
very good.
Busy momming.
What have you done since the last meeting? No, just kidding. So as you probably gathered, we just let people know what we've been doing in our roles and how we've been contributing or not to the school district during our time. Next, we're going to go to our superintendent and cabinet reports.
All right. First, I just want to report from PCOE in terms of communications. We received our notice of their analysis that our first interim budget, they feel like it's received a positive certification. So Joe's numbers all counted up and equaled 0, so we're good. No, PCOE has certified our first interim budget. Second, last night we had our Placer County AXA Awards. So it's all the administration from superintendent down to classified support. I mean, there's a wide range of positions that get recognized, and we had 3 administrators recognized last night. Sue Ann Bell for Secondary Administrator of the Year from Wood Creek. Rob Hasty for Human Resources employee. I'm not even sure he did Human Resources the last year, but Human Resources. And then Distinguished Career for the youngest person in the district, Miss Jen Layton. So we had 3 people get recognized last night, and it was a fun event. So
Very good.
that's it.
Other cabinet members, anything to report?
You just did it for me.
All right. 2, anything to report?
We have been very busy in education services, but tonight in particular, I'm going to lift up a student story that I heard at our last LCAP Advisory Committee meeting last Wednesday at Granite Bay High School. And as you all know, many of our students, and in particular our seniors, have applied for colleges and are starting to hear early notices. And so in talking with 2 particular students, I want to lift up one student from Granite Bay, one student from Antelope High School. The student from Granite Bay, I just asked him, how are we doing by you, given LCAP is, of course, our opportunity to gather the voices of our community, and in particular our students, so that we can continue to write goals where we know we will be able to meet them, so that we are sending our students off to the very best spaces. And the student at Granite Bay shared with me that he's received early acceptance to his top university of choice, Baylor University in Waco, Texas, and that he is quite thankful for all the opportunities that Roseville Joint has provided him. On the other side of the LCAP room, I spoke and visited with a couple of seniors from Antelope High School, and in particular spoke to one of our soon-to-graduate seniors who shared with me that he is a foster student and is looking forward also to going to his top university of choice, which is our local university, Sac State, as a future stinger, and that he is extremely proud, albeit nervous, because this is going to be his first time on his own, but that he is also very proud to have gone through the Roseville Joint Union High School District and to have been given the opportunity that he is going to be receiving as a young adult. So just wanted to share some of the good stories of our students out in our school district.
Thank you. No reports over there. All right. Committee reports. I don't believe either committee has met. The policy committee has a meeting next Friday. This Friday, yeah. Well, that's the next Friday on my calendar. So this Friday. Are you on that now?
Yes.
All right. See you Friday. Student board members? Oh, well, you're not students anymore. So no student board reports. Natalie, welcome. RCA report in fluorescent yellow.
I thought it was calm. Okay, clearly not. I don't have a report, but I wanted to say, Ludmila, Mila, I apologize. Sometimes as union representation, we see board members step in and we're curious about what their intent is. And I want to say that I'm all about actions speak louder than words. And I want to say from the get-go, I really appreciate seeing you out about. I remember teaching in my classroom and looking out the window, and there you were at Roseville Adult School. I'm like, oh, she's starting early. So I wanted to say thank you for your time, and I really appreciate the time and effort, because I know this is a monumental task to attend. And I know you don't like the attention, but I'm so sorry. And I appreciate your time. And also, I taught 14 years at Antelope. I do appreciate that there's a voice from Antelope coming through. It speaks dear to my heart, and I want to say thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. Our next item is public comment. I have one card. Guess who that is, Nicole? Welcome. With the people. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, Ludmila. Thank you for your service. It feels weird saying that like you're in the military or something. Thank you for your service. I'm talking about the board appointments. You guys did a great job with your current pick. Very happy. She seems really qualified and competent. it really pulls in people from all walks of life. I was and am a parent in the Dry Creek District, and I was really happy to see that Bill Schultz was not considered, because the will of the people would not have been listened to and heard. We voted him out not based off misinformation, but based off of his actions while he was sitting on that board. That man did not want to get our kids back to school. That man did not want our kids to have the option to not be vaccinated. That man did not want our children to be unmasked. He kept our children masked until well after the governor's mandate had been dropped. So he got up here and was very disingenuous and really misrepresented his role on the board. And as a voting parent in the Dry Creek District, I can say I made that vote being a well-informed and active parent in that district, and it was not because I was misinformed. Just wanted to kind of set the record straight, because I listened to him and was very angry. I was angry because I had a child at Wood Creek, and the way Roseville Joint handled things was completely different than the way Dry Creek was handling it. And I want to say that I do appreciate your actions during the whole COVID madness. You guys approached that with common sense and science, and I thank you.
Thank you. That's the only card I have for public comment. So we're going to get into our consent agenda. Tiffany, on these items, you have the authority to vote, but if you don't feel prepared to vote, you can abstain, or if you've reviewed the packet and you feel ready to vote, you can vote. It's completely up to you, but don't feel obligated if you're uncomfortable doing it. So with the consent agenda, these are items that are considered routine. We take all of these as in one action. I don't have any requests to remove anything from the consent agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We're going to do a roll call vote on this. Marla? Ludmilla? Yes?
Yes. I'll abstain.
And abstain. So that passes 4-0-1. All right. We have no action matters. How wonderful is that? We have a staff report on budget purposes, constraints, and guidelines. It's our draft for review. Joe.
Yeah, I won't go into this too much, as I know it's been a long evening, but this is one of the processes we do each year where we start thinking about our budget. It's the first draft, it's just information. What I've done so far is mostly clean up. We're, moving years, and you'll notice that we had some language in there about a limit to carryovers that we were going to do years ago and didn't do, and the language got left in there, so I wanted to clean that up. And we've also sent this out to both of our bargaining units for their input, but this is a chance where I present so far what I have and to collect any input from the board, as well as you can reach out to me if you want some changes. But these are really just some of the guiding principles we use when we develop our budget. So after this, I will plan on bringing this back at the next board meeting for action, and that kind of kicks off the budget season.
Any comments or questions on this? I just have one comment. I'll just share a conversation that I had with Joe on the rollovers. I personally am not a big fan of unlimited carryovers. I think it is reasonable and prudent to have a cap because it may be working well now, but I've seen in government the hoarding issues that come up. And so I think it's one thing if there is a specific project and things are allocated for that and there's a reason. We're going to do X, Y, Z in 3 years and we need to do this. So I just think it's something we should consider if we want to have some form of policy around that. Because one of the things, as you know, Joe knows this because we've dealt with it, is when the state sees us carrying over or not using money, they tend to attack our pots of money. They limit our reserves, they do things like that. So I think it's just a good budget practice. I don't know where that sweet spot is, what percentage it is or anything like that. But I think it's something that we should give a little more thought to and consider going forward. So anyway, I just want to share with them what I shared with you so that we can consider that going forward. Any other comments? All right, we don't have to take any action on that whatsoever because we just told him what we thought. And as he said, if you have any additional thoughts, you can feel free to reach out to him directly before the next meeting. Our last item on the agenda is staff comments. We sort of went around the room once. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add?
In the consent agenda, you guys approved a proclamation declaring the first week of February, the week of the counselor. Just wanted to make sure that others that are listening know that that is coming. And so we'll celebrate the wonderful work of our district counselors that first week of February. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Our next item is pending agenda items. I just want to remind you, John, that we're going to bring back the committees after we make the next selection. So whatever the regular meeting is after our next appointment, we'll take a look at those committees and make sure that the new board members have committee input. So as they come in, if you can share that document with each of them so they have time to think about it and ask us questions. And then Tiffany, any comments you have on committees you're interested in, just reach out directly to me and we can talk about that. And then we'll have an agenda item where everyone gets assigned something. We'll just note that we're going to set a date for a special meeting, and I'll let Kim work with all the calendars to make sure that that happens. Anything else related to pending agenda items? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. What time is it? What time did I predict?
You predicted 7:05.
Oh, I was close. All right. I made that prediction at like 3:30. So anyway, thank you everyone for being here. Have fun.